I guess we're starting early because I heard the phrase Ren Fair and I got really excited. Anyway, hello, everybody. Welcome to another stream. My name, of course, is Alma Hexblade, your head guildmaster and chief barista. Welcome. Welcome to another Friday. Of course, y'all made it. Congratulations. It's Finding Out Friday, so it's the end of the work week and time for some fun. But before we go, we're going to do some education. We got to do some learning. That's what I'm here for. I wouldn't be a good streamer if I didn't at least teach you guys something, or at least entertain you in a fun way. I want to be like a fun teacher, you know? I want to be your cool teacher, you know? The one who pulls out like the TV cart, or like the one who actually is a little bit nerdy and kind of cringe, but did teach you important things, like my science teacher. She was great. She had a guitar, and I think she made a parody song of Help from the Beatles in order to teach us about bones. This was like in grade school, and this is why this memory is so formative, because it was so good, and that's what I want to be. I want to be like that, sort of, I guess. I don't know. How's everybody doing? I hope it's been good. My day's been kind of relaxing, although, I mean, I'll be frank, I have a little bit of a headache, but I don't think that's gonna stop us from having fun today. I will also kind of just give you guys a little bit of a heads up. My food did not arrive. Okay, let me put it this way. After guild work, I only have about an hour 30 until stream starts. So, I got off a little bit late, and then I had to go look for food. And there wasn't any, so I had to get some delivery, and that delivery took like 30 minutes. So now it's finally here, but the stream starts. So I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna eat. You'll see my mouth maybe move a lot during the stream. I am chewing, don't worry. I will also intentionally not make any noises into the microphone for the people who are disgusted, because I feel you. That's kind of gross. I would never do that. But if you do see me do something like, I don't know, like this motion, I'm eating sushi and ramen, because I'm very hungry. Also, I won't talk with my mouth full. That's bad manners. A local run fair worked out for jobs selling cloaks. Oh, it's so cute. Well, cafe, Darkadia, I will look at it later, just in order to, you know, protect your privacy. I know you said it, but I'm not going to say any locations or anything, because that's kind of bad. But, you know, that's my personal preference. I'll look it up later, though. Sagrel! Gotcha, Sagrel. Hello. All right. So what do we have for today, for today's Finding Out Friday? What did I post? I keep forgetting. I always make the post and then forget. Yu-Gi-Oh! 2 cars, a Game Child, Metal Flyers, and more. That is a pretty dark way to do this. Or tough way to do this. But let's get started. We don't have a lot of time. I think we're starting a little bit late. The first video here is, you guys may have seen this before. Hold on. I need to move myself a little bit over. Like half my face is missing. Is about a Yu-Gi-Oh card. Yeah, it's about Tyler the Great Warrior. I don't know this story personally. I saw it pop up on my Twitter when the donations were going pretty high. And I didn't realize this is probably a very good time to watch it. So let's watch it together. And if you guys have any more information, please tell me. I would love to know. I should log it to Master Duel. You know, get those dailies. All right, let's watch this. Oh, it's not load. Oh, wait, hold up. Hold up. I forgot. I always don't. Let's try that again. I always need to test this before I do this thing. There we go.
We're all scared. but we have to keep moving forward. Even if we can't see the road in front of us, holding our heads up high, believing in what lies ahead. Even while we sit here, that moment is coming closer every second. We've all got limited time, you know?
So I think first and foremost, we should start off with, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Tyler Gressley. A lot of people know me as Tyler the Great Warrior, which actually Yu-Gi-Oh! Chose that name. They let me create the entire card, but they had a surprise for the name and they chose that.
The fact that he also has this too.
Yeah.
I mean, this just tells the whole story here.
Rendering. This is what he drew when he was in the hospital. And this is the final rendering, I think.
Oh my god, I didn't know how this worked out.
So what no one knew prior to this whole thing coming together was that there were two separate artworks that Kazuki Takahashi did for Tyler the Great Warrior. And so Tyler got to pick which artwork it was. And so the fact that we have that, and it's also signed by Kazuki Takahashi as well, is just, I was geeking out when they were showing, I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is the part of the story that no one's ever heard before.
Yeah. So are you just a big Future Trunks fan? Is that okay? Yeah, I was like, just Future Trunks on the card. It's like, it's so awesome.
Walk them through it.
My journey really started in 2001. I was initially diagnosed with undifferentiated sarcoma of the liver, which is a extremely rare cancer. I was told at the time, when I was diagnosed, that there was on average about 200 known cases that they had ever seen in the United States of it.
Wow.
Eventually, they told me about Make-A-Wish. At the time, I really loved playing Yu-Gi-Oh! So I told them I wanted to make this, and they flew us out to New York, my dad and I. They introduced me to the artist.
Yo, he met the CEO of 4Kids?
Voices of the Yu-Gi-Oh!
Dang, oh my god,
Got to watch the pressing of the card, took the picture with it, and got to go home with it. They contacted me, and first thing I wanted was a Porsche, but I wasn't old enough. So they said, if you were 16, yeah, sure, we'd make it happen.
That's so cool.
You can't drive, you can't have fun. So after tossing some ideas around and stuff, this is what came up, and I drew this. Always been inspired by Dragon Ball Z and stuff. I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! So much, so I was like, man, I can combine the both if I can do whatever I want, you know? So I just combined my two favorite pastimes at the time. So
Yeah, my 12-year-old self highly agrees with all of that. This is fantastic.
So what do you remember from the initial stages of the Make-A-Wish process?
So I remember at the beginning of the Make-A-Wish process, two Make-A-Wish representatives coming in, introducing themselves, saying, hey, kind of explaining the process to me. And then, honestly, on such big wishes, they
Me and the boss of 4Kids, even though,
really honed in on that. You gotta be patient. This is gonna take a lot of work.
the downhill nature of 4Kids is kind of irrelevant to the fact that they did meet the group that was making this cartoon viewable to the public in the West, you know? Like, even though it went bad and, we could all joke about 4Kids now, you can't deny that they did introduce kids to stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, One Piece, and, I mean, yeah, we could look at it and laugh in hindsight, but it was still important for people, so that's why I'm, respecting it. It's a sad thing for me that 4Kids went down. Yeah, true. Yeah. I mean, I know, it's part of it's, writing on the wall, anime getting more popular. Kind of stinks, but it was, one of those, its time was kind of limited as people grew up and figured out that, hey, the shows that they're localizing are different and are more mature, and they follow.
We're gonna have to make a lot of phone calls. We will touch base anytime we get any updates. To me, at the time, it seemed like it took forever, but it really didn't take all that long. To be honest with you, I don't remember offhand. I don't remember the two girls who helped, the two representatives who helped get me started before we went to New York and did all this stuff.
I'm glad we're able to all assemble here today.
Sure. My name's Sophia Morton. I am the Senior Director of Mission Discovery with Make-A-Wish Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. We're the largest chapter in the country, but there's about 53 chapters across the country who help support children with critical illnesses. What I know about Tyler and the card is that about 18 years ago, I believe it was 2004, 2005.
Oh wow, yeah, that's like
got the
peak
request
Yu-Gi-Oh.
from a young boy at the time who wanted a wish to design his own Yu-Gi-Oh card. And I remember thinking, I have no idea what he's talking about. So we went in a little blind. It was one of the first requests like that we had gotten. So we really didn't know what the outcome would be. Obviously, years later, it's been an amazing experience, and I think one that still lives with Tyler and his family.
Out of all of the wishes you've ever granted through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, where does this rate in terms of how out there or bizarre or memorable that this one was?
So I've seen a lot, but I would have to say out of all of the out there wishes that I've experienced, this is probably in the top 10.
We know this wasn't actually Tyler's first request for Make-A-Wish. Do you remember what some of his other asks were?
I will have to say that I do not remember what Tyler's first asks were at that time. I think once he kind of landed on this, we went running with it.
In retrospect, and you can be honest, do you still wish you got the Porsche?
In retrospect, no. I don't wish I got the Porsche. I still would have stuck with the card for sure. Everyone had really great ideas, and then I just kind of had an epiphany one day, and I was like, I think I want to do that. I've always loved to draw, and I loved Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was like, man, what if I could make my own? That would be freaking awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Go for it.
So curious, when they first approached you guys about this, what did you guys think? What was your first thing that came?
Dude, I was like, we absolutely need to get them here no matter what. I was like, dude.
Because this is the holy grail.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
For Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool. I never thought I would see this. Like, I'm an old school Yu-Gi-Oh player, so I was just like, oh, wait, hang on, we're getting one card all of a sudden to come in? So, like, I'm curious, I don't know if you know, or I'm curious, like, when they printed it, was it just on this one sheet? Because, like, I'm pretty interested in the production on it, so.
They just made the one, cut it out, put it directly into the case. No one, as far as I know, no one's touched it with their bearing.
Wow.
No, that's an awesome card, man.
That's a
wow.
If you have any other questions about the story, feel free to ask him. We already did like a whole interview thing months ago.
So walk us through the first steps of creating the card. You decided you wanted to make the card. You had some of the initial rough drafts concept art. You had the boxer guy first initially, and then it slowly moved on to the Tyler the Great Warrior as we know what it is now.
The airwaves kind of went silent for a little while. They said the next steps is we'll take you up and have you talk to the artist. When I went to New York, that's when they were kind of ready. They were like, hey, we have this concept art and stuff. Well, they said, does this one or this one look good to you? And that's what we're gonna render.
So both of those that we have, those were both done by Kazuki Takahashi, and those were the two iterations where once you went to New York, they said, here are the proofs, and you pick which one, and we just go from there.
At one point, we talked a little bit about what attack level I wanted it, things like that. So I may have chosen that, but as far as like summoning privileges and everything like that, I didn't choose any of that. I just wanted something really strong, and other than that, they kind of took it from there.
Just thinking back then, like,
wow.
Okay, so yeah, it's got ring on it, and you can.
It was a real card, but then I already
it's
quitting for EGA.
Oh, this is so good.
I love that this is a good real thing. It feels like what I mean. This feels like one of those like my dad works at Nintendo things, but obviously like that this can happen, and I'm very happy about it. The only Yu-Gi-Oh card that I enjoy that is funny, that is fake, is the what was it? was it like the Black Eyes Dark Magician? It was something really silly or something.
Is if you
Super
look at
Saiyan
the
Dark
card, it
Magician,
doesn't, like,
and that was a
correctly
fake
sit
card.
in
It was
right?
a funny fake
So
card.
if you
Right.
hold it up, does that make you at all nervous of how it will come out?
A little bit. It's just you never know with these pressure cases. So like what could be on it. So yeah, hopefully it's completely fine and we just open it and there's no surface indents.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Did you actually see them press and like mint the card as well? Or did they just sort of hand the card over to you?
So I did see them press and mint the card, but it was behind glass. Everything.
I could understand the nerves in that. Yeah.
From my
I mean, you're also doing this on a playmat because why are you doing this on a playmat?
memory, I don't remember it being that as awe-inspiring as you thought it might be. It was kind of just like, psh, there it is, you know? I mean, here it is.
Do you know how many copies of the card were actually printed?
From their word to mine at 4 kids, it is the only copy.
All right. You're going for screw number 1 right now.
Why are you doing this on a mat? I know the mat's like $300, but can you do this with maybe, I don't know.
Final screw.
Can you at least wear a beard net? Please, you're giving me anxiety for not having even gloves on right now.
This out.
Yeah, no, seriously, gloves, please.
Okay, so this comes off.
Oh, okay. Gloves! No! Stop! I hate you. Stop.
There we go.
Your oil is on it now.
Give me the penny.
I don't mean this in like a nerdy way. I'm just like, it's one of one. It's one of one. You're putting it in there for grading purposes. It is the mintest mint you will ever get. At least wear gloves. You're gonna get your spit on it, and now it's ruined. You better. It's like pulling what
That's what I'm saying. Oh.
Hey, put it in. Hey, why is it only in one sleeve? Put 2.
Shaking there.
I'm not even holding
A little bit, yeah.
Please put 2
Yeah.
sleeves.
Here, Tyler, you want to hold it? Yeah.
I'm gonna scream.
Yeah, I've
Put
never
2
actually
sleeves
held
on
it
it.
before.
All right, let's leave it up. Put it in the deck. See how it plays.
Yeah.
Put it in more sleeves.
All right. So what's the next step?
It's in a hard sleeve now, but it's still
I'm gonna
bad.
take this back to get it graded. It's exciting. I'm very speechless. Yeah.
How do you
I've seen a lot of
grade
cards,
this?
but this is easily my most favorite.
No, real talk. How do you grade this? Is grading based on quality or? I'm guessing it's based on mintness, right? Like reference to mint.
Right.
Like you said, this is the culmination of months in the work that we can't believe it's actually happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can only imagine.
What was
how that
Tyler's
looks good.
motivation
Oh my
into
gosh,
getting
this
it
is
graded?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Of how it's
Cool.
printed as
Yeah,
well
let's
as
get it,
mintness.
going. Here, I'm gonna scoot by you and.
Wait, I just realized they're at the Beckett
No,
office.
it's not easy
Hold
to
up.
chase your dreams.
That one took me a minute. I
want
just
to
realized they're at
believe
Beckett
that
office.
I have a chance,
Border
even
measurement
if
center.
it's just a tiny one.
That's kind of not gonna lie. That's
All right, guys.
that seems weird. I'm like, why are you? That's
Back.
weird. For it's like
What do we think?
it's a manufacturing process. It's intolerances.
I like to be optimistic. I really want the black label, but I'm gonna be conservative. I'm gonna say it's a 9.5.
You know, like
I would like the black label, so I'm just gonna be optimistic. I'll say 10. Why not?
All right, Ian, if you want to just give the rundown actually too about what are some of the things that you look at when you're grading.
So when we are grading, we grade off of 4 categories. So the centering, corners, edges, and the surface of the card. So centering is obviously how well the picture itself is centered on the card. Corners is the 4 corners on it and whether or not there's any whitening, bends, any sort of other weird damage that may show up. Edges is just all 4 edges. And then the surface is the entirety of the card. So we're looking for like if there's any scratching, creasing,
can we 10 different?
or any sort of like water damage or anything like that. And then, so we ended up with a near mint 7. So we had a 9-5 on our, oh my God, I'm reading back upside down. 9-5 on the centering, 8 on the corners, 8-5 on the edges, and then a 6 on the surface.
So where was the majority of the pressure you
Gee,
felt?
I wonder why.
So if you want to,
when you
I'll pass
touch it
around,
with your
but
skin.
Along right here, you can actually see a crease going through it. Do you see what I'm saying? On that corner.
I can't.
Yeah, and that's gonna crush your surface.
Jeez.
Let me see.
At least the centering's a 9.5. They printed it right.
Well, we were worried about the centering. We thought that was actually off.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, I call them invisible bends, like you only see it in the right light. And then, if I recall, there's some on the bottom.
So the case damaged it,
I love
huh?
seeing the text on it too. It says, Dan, come here if you can, Dan. This is the first label with the printing on it.
It will
it
be
says,
the only one with that on it.
2005 Make-A-Wish proto.
That's awesome. That's cool. Or is it weird for you, Tyler, that it's like transitioned from like one slab to another slab?
No, I think it's meant to be. Yeah, all the print and stuff down to it, and just the way it's displayed and stuff is awesome.
You want to crack it and try to read?
We're here. I think we could do better.
So, okay, I only know grading from this stuff by like video game grading, which is like weirdly nepotistic, and I'm not sure. But like, it's cool.
We're still trying to figure out the next steps for it too. Like, where do you take it and everything?
Right.
And you guys have connections to like eBay and stuff, right?
Did you ever consider selling it at any point in the past? I mean, it's been, what, 15-ish years?
So even though I've had it for 15 or 20 years, I haven't considered selling it. Up until
The closer to 10 more
recently,
perfect.
it was one of those
I would
things
expect that
where they,
the more
they told me
off
when I
perfect
got
it
the
is, the more
card,
expensive
you know,
it
cherish
would
it,
be.
don't
Because
sell it,
wouldn't
hang on
misprints
to
be
it,
expensive?
it's
Or
only
be
one,
a lot?
And I've cherished it for a really long time, and I think it would be nice for others to be able to cherish it in a public space, or someone who's going to really truly value that card and the history and everything that kind of came to create it.
Oh, misprints are its own market?
It
Okay.
was a massive undertaking. But I'd like for someone to truly, truly enjoy it.
I'm of the opinion that whoever does end up purchasing this is probably going to be someone who does, because they are probably going to take it to their grave, in all honesty, and it's
Right.
probably never going to change hands again after this, just because of the significance, the history of it all.
I want to part with the card now after so much time. One, because I think the anticipation has really been killing some really avid collectors. I'm not getting any younger. I want to start a family. I want to own and operate my own business to also help my community, as well as travel, see things like my brother in Switzerland, and just kind of see what all's out there and kind of just get some more worldly experience and beautiful views under my belt if I can.
Tyler, thank you so much for coming out. It was really an honor to get a chance to see your card and hear your story. I'm looking forward to what comes of this, and thanks so much again, man.
You said you had no say in the name of the card, but Konami decided that Tyler the Great Warrior was the most fitting. Do you think that's the most fitting name for the card?
So I do think the most fitting name is Tyler the Great Warrior, because what better name would I have come up with, especially as an 11-year-old? You know, at first I was like,
am I nomming?
Over time.
You missed out. Yes, I am nomming.
sunk in that, like,
I have ramen in front of me. I had
really had to
sushi.
overcome this crazy journey.
I was not able to eat
really
by the when this delivery came.
this thing.
By stream started, so
Championed
you're
over
gonna have to
this.
catch me
I really
eating food.
was
I
a
apologize,
warrior over
but I'm
this.
not gonna. I'm not gonna make any funky noises. I'm not gonna be bad.
I think
You have a misprint blue eyes. Wow.
especially now, over the years and growing so much just as an adult and over time, that I couldn't have picked a better name. That was really, really fitting.
Games purify our souls and leave room for our new development that challenges the mind. They are the products of human wisdom. We have a saying back home. It's time to duel.
Yeah, so it got sold for, what was the winning bid? I know, is it still ongoing? Ah, still ongoing, yeah. 161. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not signing in. I'm not signing in to see the bid history. But, yeah, no, it went from, I saw it, that's why I was saying I saw it on my Twitter. It was like, it went from whatever to that much money, and it's not done yet. And I'm sure it's gonna maybe, I don't want to say maybe reach 200. It might stay like that, but it's very impressive. There's a video on Freak. I don't think we're gonna play the video on Freaking. It's too complicated. I watched it myself and I was like, I have to show people this? I'm supposed to explain the smart stuff. I can't do this. It was impossible for me to understand. I'm trying to drink ramen right now, and the ball keeps getting stuck. I wasn't dead set on seeing it or anything. I just thought it's cool. Yeah, no, Freaking is cool. Freaking was cool. Hacking is cool. Anyway, all right. So, there's a little bit. We're going to watch another video. This one I think is cute. It's from Carl Pudega. He makes a lot of neat little PCBs. I'm not really an electronics engineer, but I do like watching his experiments. So we have here a little foldable rover, which I think is a really cute car. So we're going to watch that. I heard the marble. Ramen is tasty. I like the regular flavor. Or melon. This is the first time I'm trying orange, and I'm like, it's not orangey enough.
Circuit can fold into a tiny.
Oh, there we go. Watch this.
This circuit can fold into a tiny rover, and surprise, it has no motors. Just kidding, we're going to use motors that are printed on a circuit. The first thing that pops into my mind when I think of robot rovers are 4 wheels connected to a box, where this box usually acts as a shell to protect the electronics and the motors. So what I'm going to try and do here is combine all these
Peach, oh yeah, no, peach soda is really good. It's a really soft taste, I like it.
Its only drawback is the torque, especially because it needs to directly drive the wheels. But now I feel more confident using it after building this 2-wheeled PCB motor robot. And the good news is that by adding 2 more wheels, we'll also be directly improving the driving torque. So I guess the remaining challenge is using the same circuit as a robust shell and fitting all the electronics inside. That's definitely a big headache. Circuits are usually made from 2-dimensional copper boards like this. So we have to join multiple boards together to go into the 3rd dimension. This can be easily done with
There's a store down the street that does fresh teriyaki. Oh my gosh, you're so lucky. That sounds great.
Of useful space and weight. So I think there's a better.
I'm just glad there's a lot of Japanese restaurants near me in general.
Folded cardboard box. Obviously using a flexible PCB instead of cardboard. Each side would have to fold 90 degrees to form a cuboid. So the sides can hold the 4 motors, and you can put the rest of the electronics inside the middle piece. Copper is not
Hey, I mean, it's better than swearing.
So
I don't know.
We have to form a little bridge for the tracks to pass through to soften their angle. Now the region where the electronics is going to sit has to be rigid, so I did a combination of steel and FR4 stiffeners on each side. The next challenge is going to be figuring out how to hold the whole thing together. We could add some tabs with double-sided tape or solder pads, but both of these are permanent solutions. Remember that I also have to make the robot easy to open up for debugging. The motor already has a hole for the bolted shaft, so I think I'm going to use this to join everything together. To do that, I created these 4 tabs that fold code behind the motor, and by using a nut I could sandwich everything together. I decided to name this robot SimpleBot or S-Bot for sure.
Square
We'll talk
boy.
about the robot circuitry later on in the video, but for now I just have to give hats off to Altium Designer for pulling off this 3D visualization.
I would like to call
I
him
cannot
maybe
even
like
imagine making a
just a
project
cute
like
little
this one
transformer.
without the tools that they provide. So
He
if
goes
you
from
want to
flat
take
to
this
3D.
CAD software for a spin, make sure you check out the link in my description where you can download a free trial of both Altium Designer and Altium 365.
Companion rover. I know, right? I'm like, watch the first. Look at the version of him. He looks like a companion. Well, once he builds it.
Seems that the folding is going to work.
It looked way bigger on screen.
So let's open this thing up and start soldering it. Shit, I have a problem. These top-sided stiffeners are going to create a large gap between the stencil and the actual PCB. So it kind of cannot be soldered using a stencil. I'm just going to cut it with scissors.
Like again, it's like I'm no electronics engineer, but I do love watching people make stuff. Makes me wish that I could do it, and I feel like I can with just a little bit more like knowledge searching,
And
I
just
guess.
like that, I had an assembled PCB.
Let's take a moment to explain how the electronics is going to work. Each motor has a speed controller, which consists of a 3-phase driver, a big 16F microcontroller, and a Hall effect sensor. From the sensor, the controller can
For components that small, you can only go into hot plate soldering.
Speed it receives.
You can't do that. You can't do that. You can do that stuff for the hand, but are you?
To a PlayStation
It's a lot.
joystick via Bluetooth, and it will use Wi-Fi for over-the-air programming. This ESP32 will also handle the onboard LiPo battery charger, proximity sensor, and inertial measurement unit. It also lights up these 4 LEDs. We have a little problem because only 2 LEDs are lighting up. I connected these LEDs to the nearest pin available without checking if they can be used as outputs. In fact, these specific 2 pins are used to communicate with the external flash chip on board the module, so using them as outputs is definitely a no-go. It took me a while to realize, but the ESP32 was not operating correctly, and sometimes not even reprogramming. The issue got resolved by just disconnecting the resistors from the pin.
Okay, so the next problem I'm trying to solve is flashing these big 16F microcontrollers. I'm just testing 2 out of 4, but the problem is that one of them is flashing okay, while the other one is not. And I cannot find why. Funny thing is that when heating it up, it is working, so I guess this has to do with a soldering issue.
I ended up soldering a new piece.
To simplify the design, I shared the clock and data programming pins of all the 4 microcontrollers. Each device still had a reset so that each controller can be flashed with a unique software. And this worked pretty well on a breadboard, but for some reason it didn't work on my PCB. This made the motor's driver impossible to debug, because each one had to be desoldered to another PCB for it to be reflashed, so I figured that it was easier to just start over. Enter Mark II. Thank you PCBWay for being an awesome sponsor and remanufacturing my design. As you can see with this new version, I replaced both the steel and the FR4 stiffeners with aluminium, which also acted as a free heatsink for the motors. I also fixed the stencil. Well, sort of fixed, as it was still a bit annoying to squeegee the solder paste, but at least I didn't have to cut it this time. Each motor driver now has a unique set of programming pins. To fit everything, I had to remove the silkscreen designators. But with this change, I also managed to upgrade the 2 bulk electrolytic capacitors to 33 microfarads. I also rerouted the LEDs. Debugging was now pretty straightforward since I had already written most of
They have
code.
LEDs now.
I just had to tune the motor speed controllers to work with the joystick.
Oh, it's getting faster. Oh. It's working.
The rotors I'm using are made from an aluminum housing that holds an iron backplate and 8 arc magnets. The tires could be directly mounted to the rotor as they were 3D printed with flexible TPU. To make the robot more robust, I found these standoffs that could be screwed directly from side to side. The plan was to use this one cell 200 mAh LiPo battery, but this was not fitting well with the new electrolytic capacitor and the standoff's limited height. So for the first test, I decided to replace the standoffs with nuts. I also had to make some changes with the top side locking mechanism. Previously this was going to have a magnet to attract to the steel stiffener at the back, but for this new aluminum version I decided to use a solderable nut. This had some extra material at the back which didn't quite fit, so I had to cut it off. In this new PCB I also included these small extra tabs that could close off the top side gaps. The banded bridges were a little sharper than intended, but the copper passing inside didn't show any sign of breakage.
It's a little guy. Look at him go.
The robot did manage to
Look at him
move,
go.
but it was getting stuck very easily. At first I thought that the battery was clipping the current.
Extremely tiny.
This thing should have a current discharge of around 4 to 10 amps. Then I found the problem.
Oh no.
This robot sucks compared to my two-wheeled robot. This was very strange because it used the same exact PCB stator design, but the phase resistance was almost twice as much. I talked to PCBWay about this and they confirmed that for 4-layer flexible PCBs, the 2 inner layers cannot be manufactured with the same 1 ounce copper thickness. This is related to the pressure needed to hold the thin adhesive during manufacturing. So constant copper thickness can only be achieved with flexi-rigid technology for 4-layer flexible PCBs. But I think there's a solution.
That kind of stinks, actually.
If you connect 2 batteries in series, you can roughly drive the motor with the same power, increasing the voltage instead of the current. But before we do this, I like to understand how the robot mechanics can be improved, because I'm sure this is not helping. I started by installing one of the standoffs at the back. I had to tilt the battery a little bit for it to fit, but this made the backside more rigid. The robot also performed a little bit better, but when encountering uneven surfaces, some of the wheels were slipping and rotating.
No, he's stuck.
The rest of the wheels unable to move. The robot is very lightweight, so I decided to modify the speed controller for the motors to drive slower and an open loop. I think the closed loop controller I had running was not helping, because some of the motors were still trying to catch up with others. So by driving all the motors in open loop, they are all forced to run at the same frequency. At this point, I also decided to try out different tires. While their wheels would increase traction, but the motors wouldn't spin them. I guess they were just too heavy.
Okay, so I did manage to get it to run.
He's like watching a little guy to walk. Look at him go. Oh.
It seems that I spoke too soon.
These other spike tires really made a difference, because it was easier to climb over obstacles.
It's a little rover. It's a little rover.
But the robot was still struggling to go on uneven terrain, especially when the battery started running out.
I'm personal. He seems incredibly nervous.
The cuboid was a little skewed and the motor sides were also slightly bent from the top side. After taking a closer look, I noticed that the small tabs at the top were putting quite a force on the sides. So I decided to remove these, and this made a huge difference.
Love him.
That already looks so much better.
He's like so tiny and like and huggable. I want him on my desk as a friend.
The robot also managed to lift this small camera.
Yo. POV.
As cool as this looks, pavements or roads were still a no-go, even when oiling the bearings and adding a second standoff for extra support. So I guess it's time to upgrade to a 2-cell LiPo battery. Before powering
The torque
robot,
is so
I had to
little,
remove
it's so
the
hard.
onboard battery charger chip, as it could only handle 1 cell. The motors reach the maximum temperature the PCB can withstand at 7.
Oh my god, 100
so
Celsius.
it exceeded at 8.2 volts, which is
Oh.
the maximum voltage the batteries get charged at. So we'll be overpowering the motors a little bit for a short period of time, but I think it can still handle it. Going left and right was a
He's
little
going.
bit slow, but I was still impressed because going straight it managed to the distance of my whole workshop. Now, how well does it handle the outdoor terrain?
He looks like one of those tiny robots that you would do to like deliver packages to you. There he goes.
It definitely got stuck in some of the obstacles, but it also handled some of them very well considering its size.
This little off-roading guy.
And that is all the tastic I have made for this video. If you enjoyed watching it, please leave a like and do leave your suggestions in the comments below, because I am planning to make a new version of this thing. If you want to learn more about PCB motors, check out these other 2 videos. And to end this, I would like to say a huge thank you to all my Patreons for supporting this project. Check out the link in the video's description.
Do you get bigger between the ad break? I don't know. This is good though. Alright. So the next video, I like Carl's videos. It's very entertaining to watch his design process. He does a very good job. The next video is from Svivari about vintage tech. Vintage tech is dying. Here's why. My main reason I can think of is capacitors. But let's find out.
G3 clamshell. But I don't remember them smelling this much like vinegar. And...
oh god.
Yeah. A lot of old electronics are starting to die. So... let's talk about that.
Why?
I own quite a bit of old tech.
Why does it look like this?
I power up these devices to see if they were still functional.
I'm scared.
This has developed vinegar syndrome, where the layers of the display literally begin to break down, forming a rock-hard substance that feels like concrete and, according to my brother, smells like the furniture section in Harvey Norman. I think it smells very strongly of vinegar personally, but does this display still work at all?
That looks like
Remembering that this very iBook had a near perfect screen up until very recently. Well, it still displays an image with horrible imperfections, but also doesn't seem to be able to read the hard disk anymore. But is this something installing a clean version of macOS can fix? And when checking in the disk utility of the macOS installer, it no longer detects the drive at all.
No.
In fact, you can hear the hard disk making a very distinct clicking sound.
Oh no.
Some call it the click of death. This is a real shame, as removing the hard disk from one of these Macs is a very time-consuming process. With newer iMacs, for instance, getting access to the failed hard disk requires the painstaking removal of the taped-on display panel, a very delicate procedure.
I have done this multiple times.
Simply tapping the hard.
I don't think he actually mentioned this. So, here's the internals for the Mac. Hard drive's right here, but the power supply is right here, entirely unshielded. So if you fuck around, you can die. This can hurt.
Like a procedure, and if you're desperate, you could try simply tapping the hard disk to get it unstuck. This actually worked in this case. After the iBook was not even detecting the hard drive, it was now booting from it, all thanks to a solid flick of my finger. So this Mac is
I'm
still
scared.
functional, albeit with glaring cosmetic defects.
You need to punch
I've
it to
also
get
had
it
success
working.
getting an ancient laptop hard disk working again simply by opening it up and moving the platters, which got it spinning once more. This stuff doesn't clean off either. It's simply the top layers of the display literally breaking down. This was stored in a cool, dry place as well. Only a matter of time before this happens to more and more iBooks, sadly. But this kind of display damage isn't just limited to the clamshell iBooks. Newer Macs are also suffering. This late model iBook G4 has what appears to be mold forming under the display coating, which will only get worse as time goes on. I've also noticed the edges of my first generation MacBook Pro have started to turn yellow. Not only that, the aluminium palm rest is suffering from what I can assume is galvanic corrosion. The material must have been acting as a sacrificial anode to the stainless steel watch band of the original owner. And while we're talking about laptops, I made a very successful video on an IBM ThinkPad from 1994. The display at the time wasn't very good quality, but it was at the very least undamaged. However, now it's cracking and bubbling at the surface really badly. It looks as if the top layer is separating, which is a real shame. Unfortunately, the
horror,
doesn't
actually.
seem
I'm
to show
scared.
any signs of life anymore. Not even the backlight has any functionality. Some consolation is the fact that the laptop itself does work, minus the built-in display. And as a headless laptop, this is still pretty cool. The next failing tech I'd like to show you are the melty boys. The rubberized casing of the
Oh no, the vulcanization, no!
strong enough to pick
I hate it.
other ones up. This is sadly the fate most rubberized products will eventually face. It's even worse when the rubberized portion covers the entirety of a laptop. It was a hugely time-consuming job to remove all of this and make this notebook no longer sticky to the touch. But it's not just rubber that's the problem. Plastics that become brittle can lead to complete failures of some devices. A single tiny plastic part rendered this PowerBook Duo dock completely useless until I had fixed it. Lots of moving parts, primarily plastic, is a recipe for disaster. A problem that plagues many old Apple computers is their heavy use of plastics. This PowerMac 9500 has almost completely disintegrated, with much of the casing snapped off. What's left is basically just the internals without the bottom part. It's literally falling apart with next to no effort. Sadly, this machine's frame is held together with plastic as well.
Oh my god.
I can only imagine how badly damaged one of these would be if you tried to ship it. But it is a real shame, as I would love to have a complete one of these again. One that's not disintegrating, ideally. Thankfully, Apple moved away from this obvious attempt at cost-cutting with
breaking
future
apart
models.
so
While
much.
this PowerBook Duo laptop is still functional, even with the horrible display, which may have actually been this bad back in the 90s,
primary batteries in a lot of electronics are starting to swell and leak as well.
Well over 10 years ago, I placed one in a metal filing cabinet, and yeah, it isn't looking too good anymore. Now imagine all of this making its way through a laptop or computer. If you can, store your laptop batteries outside and away from the laptop, being sure to charge them to around 80% every 3 to 6 months. Good battery care can get you pretty far. My 2012 MacBook Pro has over 1,500 cycles used and an impressive 88% health. Dominic on Facebook posted the results of a max PRAM battery leaking in a machine he opened up. Truly devastating
Oh
results.
my god.
I have a Macintosh Classic lying around as well, so let's see if it still has its PRAM battery, shall we? It also appears to have a failing analog board, sadly. We'll get to CRTs and their failings.
I like that
in the
it's
video.
trying
In
to
earlier
do
Macintosh models such as the
trying to draw and
128K
can't.
and the Plus, the PRAM
scary.
battery would simply be under this door. But for the Macintosh Classic models, you've got to dig in a little bit deeper. After removing the long screws, I wiggled the two halves apart. With all connectors removed, the logic board can be slid out, and thankfully the PRAM battery had been removed at some point in time. One of Luke Fletcher's Macs suffered much worse. He sent me these photos on Twitter. This shows the huge devastation a small battery can cause. If you've got old computers lying around, at the very least remove the clock batteries if you can. This one from 1989 was somehow still intact.
Yeah, I don't store
But it's
any
not
of my
just
electronics
that
with
can
batteries
leak
in
and
them
cause
anymore.
Problems. Capacitors in old electronics have
But
a
with some of
tendency
them.
to leak and damage the surrounding circuitry. And it's not just really old computers that can suffer either. This Pentium 4 powered Dell has caps that are bulging and starting to leak. And it's those problematic capacitors that may have ended the life of this old CRT.
Wasn't it the
This
early
gateway
2000s
gaming
capacitor
screen
plague?
From I guess the late 90s shows no signs of life whatsoever. Not even an indicator light comes on, which is a shame since screens like this are becoming harder and harder to acquire. A working CRT is honestly a joy to use for retro computing, if ever so hard to record on camera without shutter speed issues. Sticking with the now problematic nature of old CRT displays, let's take a look at a few old iMac G3s that I've never tested or powered on before. These Macs will feature in their own video at some point. So let's see what the first one does.
Sound?
It has no problem booting into macOS 9. It's truly a time capsule of the late 90s, complete with a Pokédex, a Pokemon movie tie-in application.
Oh my god.
Next up,
It has
is
a
the original
Pokédex built
Revision A
in.
Bondi Blue iMac from 1998. This one running macOS 8.7, but with some issues I can see. This iMac has a failing display. It's often a problem with a component called a flyback transformer. The obvious signs this Mac is showing are the frequent pinging noises with a momentary flicker of the screen itself. The last iMac shows no signs of life at all. What could possibly be the cause? Well, straight away, I see signs of rust on the RAM cover door. Not only did the door itself
I never
actually
played with the
fall
Mac,
off,
so I
there
think
is
it
a
was
lot
too
of
young for this one.
corrosion. This
Maybe?
foam has soaked in lots of powdery goodness. This is surprisingly
Oh, that's a
not the
capacitor
fault of the
blown,
PRAM
no.
battery, which is still intact. So while I've got the chance, let's remove the battery from the original Bondi Blue iMac. The single screw on the base was already missing. Then you've got to pry up on the plastic without snapping it ideally. But this can't be good. Rust has formed around the edge,
Oh,
but this
no.
Mac is still mostly functional. Getting further into one of these original iMacs requires the unplugging of rather
what's
conventional
wrong
looking
with
display and data cables.
This
It
feels like
honestly
surgery.
looks like some kind of unfinished prototype. The later iMac G3 models are far more integrated, but also require much more to disassemble. And surprisingly, the rust is almost entirely localized to the metal shielding, with the little Israeli-made battery looking undamaged, but of course, I'll remove it anyway. This may have become this bad due to moisture building up. However, once again, Luke Fletcher on Twitter wasn't so lucky. His early model iMac ended up badly damaged thanks to the little PRAM battery.
Oh, the battery, no.
Vintage tech with the idea of making some money. I would honestly suggest selling it on very soon because what worked a few years ago,
It's
you might
like I'm
find
trying to join the
no longer functions at all.
I've
technocracy
seen
for them.
many machines fail over the years, even when looked after and stored properly. And as we know, nothing lasts forever.
Nope.
So enjoy
Nope.
the tech you have
Bad.
while it's still functional.
So there we have it, a look at the inevitabilities of old electronics. And if you are storing any of this stuff, at the very least remove all the batteries if you can. Store them in a cold, low humidity area as well. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.
That was horrifying. Whoever sent that to me, I was not expecting a horror show. I have like an old Mac that I got from my previous work. I should probably like back it up or at least see what I can do to save it. As much as keeping it all together in one piece is fine, I feel like it's gonna go anytime, and I'm like, no, I shouldn't. All right, this one's gonna be a funny. We have a funny coming in. It's called the Interchangeable Game Child. It's from Tank Pods.
It's a game, man. That's
Yay.
because it's old. You're not a boy anymore. You're old, like me. Any of you guys that tune into my Garbage Time card channel and you wonder, how did me and James meet, mate? We've been mates for over like 10 years. It's called Vintage Video Games. Old games, mate. I love it. Well, just like my taste in cars tends to be on the dumpier side, mate. And it's the same with electronics. And I'm always looking for bootleg rubbish. And oh my goodness, this was just... I wonder if this actually is from the 80s, because that is done in pencil. It's the 78. Don't tell me this is their 78th go at this. I'd hate to try the 1. Now, you've all read the title, and you're looking at 3-in-1 interchangeable game. You're saying, you're a liar, and I'm going to unsubscribe.
Where's
no
the
one
child?
in their whole life
Bootleg Game
would
Boys?
come up with the title of this video.
Yeah.
Will you sit down right now, mate? Because there it is. The interchangeable
game
child.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I mean, do you get it now? It's not Game Boy. No, this is Game Child.
Different entirely.
It's all over the box. I like how they've used 2 blues, which make it hard to read. I think all this video is going to do is bring out how many Ashens fans there are. All right, we're getting close
Let's
to
go.
busting this nugget, mate, but there's an
Game
epic
Child
thing about
reference.
this, mate. This thing is a double bootleg. Right? Because remember those Tiger handheld games that I did where it was like, that's the lowest tier console experience I could ever imagine. How could this be an actual thing? Well, those were official ones. This is a knockoff Tiger in a knockoff Game Boy chassis. The double bootleg, the interchangeable Game Child. Ooh, there's more. Hey, the other version is called the Cook. Yeah, look, these are horrible. These really do suck. Invadar features 2 levels of gameplay, automatic scoring and bonus display, and clock function. So basically,
Does it work
it's
as
in
a clock?
competition with your kitchen clock and a pencil. Oh, there's no sad onions on it. All right, here we go. This is exciting. I've been meaning to open this for a long time.
So these are
Give me
toilet
my Game
games.
Child.
These are bad games, yes.
Oh, it's lovely. Oh no, does this need button boys?
What kind of opening mechanism is that? What?
We got Invader. Wait, they spelled
Games
it
you play on the
there.
toilet.
Invader.
Maybe.
Invader.
Perhaps.
Duh. You
Duh.
gave me the wrong one, mate. Oh, jeez. Comes with a business spreadsheet. Are you kidding me? I don't even wanna.
Is that a state diagram?
I don't even wanna. Oh.
It gives you a goddamn state diagram on how to play a game.
I do have a stash of button boys just in
What?
case. And gosh, I'm hoping it's one of them. Oh, lovely. Ew, it's already got one. Oh, well, hang on.
That's
This is the only one
I can't believe that's a state diagram for. I don't know how.
Nuggety things, man.
Where?
This could just be
How?
a AAA. All right.
Why would you do it like that?
Is it the same roundness? Looks like it's very slightly thinner. Oh, it's so close. I'm just gonna smash it home. Please work.
This is a consumerist
Game
version of
Child.
trying to make fun.
Child! Yeah!
It works.
Oh, does it just go in and I can like pretend that everything's fine? The answer is not. No, this is easy. This is so easy. Oh man, we're gonna be game childing for minutes. Oh man, my dressmaker scissors got left out and they're spraying rust everywhere. Give me a piece of this, mate.
What?
Thank you. All right, fold this over itself like a crappy spring. Stick that in there and you smash this idiot home. This is bad.
I thought it worked.
No, come on, game child. What if I just hold my finger? Wait, no, it's jammed in there. So if I just... I have to keep the butt of the screwdriver in the back. Oh, come on. I'm gonna make some tweaks. I'm gonna bend the contact out just a little bit extra. That's it, baby. We got this. I'm getting less and less
Quality
results by the second. I'm losing control of the game child. This is getting suspicious. This should just work if I just hold it in. Oh my goodness.
Take it apart. Take it apart. Take it apart. Take it apart.
I need help.
Let's go.
I need to experience the interchangeable game child. James!
James, I need your assistance. I desperately want to play Submarine, but I've only got a battery.
James is gonna break it open. Let's go.
Thin, but if I push it in there, sometimes it works.
I've tried this. I've already tried this. I'm just saying that, so you know we can get that on the record. Then James has heard me say that I've already tried this.
And as I said, I already told you.
He's already in it like a
Full-blown
surgeon.
surgery.
Oh, let's go.
Interchangeable game child has begun. That's it. That's all the guts.
It's because it's all corroded.
What?
Oh, there's nothing in there.
I have to play it, James.
See the green on
I need
Oh
to
my
play
god,
this
it's
here.
rusted in there. And that's like it's a block of nothing and like a crummy piezoelectric
James
speaker.
just told me that this is only an LCD, apparently.
I think so. I think it's. Do you want me to open it? Let's have a look.
So all the games are actually stored inside of it.
Yeah, well, it's not. It's one game, and then just the stuff that you move around on the screen changes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh.
Just an LCD screen.
Yeah, so every game is basically the exact same thing, but with different looking things that beep and like blop around.
That's it.
Wow.
Oh, this is
what a
so
piece of
good.
rubbish. Can we put it together? I gotta play it now. My game child, James.
It's a block of nothing
I
with
see
your
it working
shoddy
too.
beep.
This is the nugget graveyard for all the quack quack the duck. You're gonna salvage his guts for this.
I reckon.
I haven't thrown away any of the nugs, man. They get put in this metal container. Yes, Quack Quack's soul lives on. Picking the bones of Quack Quack here. Huge battery upgrade, guys. Massive big
Huge.
battery upgrade. Yeah, now we're talking.
Oh, he sold no. Don't do this at home, kids. Oh my god.
This thing's dying on the operating table. This is going really terribly.
Yeah, whenever I push this button over here, it starts to work for a little bit. I think it's got a bad connection somewhere.
Oh man, this thing's getting a full overhaul. Oh wow, James, you're getting.
I'm
right
so excited.
Oh, it's because the die is right there. It doesn't actually have goop over it. That is amazing. I have never seen that before.
You may not be able to hear James and the fans. Normally it's just like a blob with like the processor underneath it, and that is the raw die apparently.
Show it.
The back of the chip. He's never seen it before.
I want to see
James,
it.
Don't touch it. Just
No, touch it.
James, I just need to play my game.
Yeah, but I think it's corroded.
I want to see the nudes.
With no.
Oh my god.
Wow, it's the raw little guy.
That's incredible. Under a microscope, you'd be able to see what the different parts of the CPU and all
Oh my
RAM and everything.
god, this is so cool.
Connection point. I must play my game. This thing's anything less than PS5 graphics, I'm gonna be furious. It woke up!
The speaker's working!
Just when I resoldered this one.
Wow! It's kind of writhing on the operating table.
Absolute
Careful with the
trash.
cords now.
Yeah, it's working.
Is it?
Yeah.
My man! Oh,
It's just that one
we're gaming tonight. Oh, what
it just has a
surgery, right? Just every single contact on the board needs
It just has like a life support cable on it.
fixing. Turns out, yeah, when I was pushing in the battery and it was kind of working, I wasn't making contact with the battery. I was fixing the board
This
and
is so
making the
bad.
contacts work. I told you, James with video games and electronics, mate. Like, go and suss his Instagram if you want to see like glimpses of his amazing hoard of games. It's worth it. Oh, I can finally play Submarine. So I meant to catch the people?
Oh my gosh, a catch game.
This stinks. Oh, this is disappointing, guys. I was hoping this would rival my new PS5. Actually, it might even be better because Sony wouldn't take my payment information. I haven't actually been able to install a single game. Oh, well, maybe only Submarine totally sucks. I mean, we did learn that these are just screens and nothing else. Like, there is no game in this. It's the same game. Just, let's see. What am I? Ooh, the clock's freaking out real bad. Parts of it not loading? Oh!
Did he break it?
This screen isn't working properly. Game China gave up everything for you. Nah, Invaders bought. Great. Oh, see how they ruined
The amount of effort for this is so good.
Oh, hey, Bimmy.
I love putting in a lot of effort for basically nothing.
Oh, good.
It's
I actually think it's balked. It's not actually showing.
It's the true version
my,
of the
character,
real
so I'll
friends.
push down.
The real journey was the friends we made along
Yeah,
the way. Honestly,
I'm meant to be a soccer
Oh my
guy
god.
jumping around the. Oh, wait. I thought it almost worked. No. No! No! Submarine's the only one that works! That is absolute crap. Only Submarine works. The other games never were even made properly. Oh! And here I was thinking the interchangeable game child decent! Well, I'm glad I didn't waste James's precious time instead of working on, like, the cars.
The soldering onto the battery is like the most dangerous thing you could
I
do.
wanted to spend
For
on fixing
this is the
every soda point for this.
zero
I just
reward.
find that the games aren't even different games and they don't even work. Do you ever get the vibe that you've wasted a lot of your day?
No.
I'm getting that vibe right now. Well,
that's your
I
fault.
did get to play the game, child. Oh, hang on. Does this actually go back in there? It does!
It's a stand!
Now. I've improved it. That's amazing. No, I'm just going to leave this set up and see how long it runs.
It's a stand.
This is a lot more battery than it's supposed to have. It does the clock and an alarm and whatnot. So yeah.
Wow, amazing.
For the rest of human history. I don't like the game, child. Well, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Huge thanks to my patrons, especially these stinky names right here, because my $1 a month, I do extra videos. There are extra videos on Garbage Time, which is my car thing. You've just, James is in there. And I've got the drum thing, which is my drum thing. And then I stream on Float Plane, playing the drums and all that, but, extra dank pods. I'd like to play a game that doesn't suck. I want to play the Pokemans. Mate, I got this from Cashies, and I want to see, does it have a save game still on? I mean, does it even turn on, to be honest? But
What's an Australian version of Pokemon Blue?
And I just adore it. Bust out me modded GBA, mate.
You can still play with those. Hold on. Okay. All right. Now there's another video. Let's see here. Oh, this one I love is basically someone 3D printing a giant, functionally Lego go-kart. Like, I love this. It's Legos, but big. Giant gun. It reminds me more of Legos, but yes. So like, it's a lot, but he basically builds it all. But like, oh, here we go. There's like even a drive shaft and everything.
The ring for the steering wheel has finished printing, and it's printed on flexible filament. And the idea was to press fit it in here, but it has proven to be quite an impossible task, so it's time to go back to Onshape and make these two parts. Onshape is a professional CAD plus PDM platform for businesses that is accessible across sheet metal and fully acquired a company called Cloud Milling, which means that professional grade CAM is coming to Onshape soon as well.
Sponsor.
Ivan Miranda.
Skipping sponsor.
And now let's put this on the go-kart.
It goes on the go-kart and it comes on a little nut. And look at it turn. It's so cute.
In this section of the go-kart, there is only this part of this beam and the same on the other side, keeping everything in one piece. So I will add now one of these on each side so it stays in one piece. Staying in one piece, that's great.
Reinforcement. This does just kind of make me realize how awesome, like, how cool 3D printing could be for just like fun projects.
For the back of the seat.
Go drive for lifts and get drunk people. Well, later. It was nice hanging out. Thank you for tuning in.
And this block in here supports this block in here through here, because as you can see, I'm quite worried about breaking it with my back. And finally, it's time to assemble the wheels. The wheels are a 4-part assembly, 2 parts of Polymaker PLA in red, and 2 parts on Polymaker's Polyflex HF filament. HF means high flow.
What's he building?
And I printed this with the exact
he's building a
same
big go-kart.
settings as this, apart of almost removing all retraction.
All 3D printed too, like Lego styles.
And that makes it awesome to work with this filament. So let's make some wheels. Some wheels.
Like, I'm skipping ahead because a lot of it's like build video.
For now, I'm going to use a provisional shaft for the rear wheels because I'm not sure how I'm going to do the braking and the motors and everything.
I like how, like, I know for, I think the concept for the system that he's using was meant for smaller items, I think. But the fact that he's scaling it up so large to make something that's human-shaped is very fun.
I think it's ready to roll, but I have a small issue. This thing is incredibly heavy. I think that Matt is going to smoke me on the drag race just by how heavy this is.
Try to make it lighter.
But it is what it is, so I will bring the ramp and try to get it off the table without dying or breaking it. It is so heavy. this is too heavy.
It rolls, so that's cool.
It does roll with no one in the seat, so let's test if it does roll with me on it. Okay, my full weight is on it. No cracking sounds. Nothing seems to be collapsing. Let's see if I can move the steering wheel.
It looks so uncomfortable. It looks uncomfortable, but I'd still ride it for the gimmick of I'm riding in a big Lego car. I would like to ride in a big Lego car.
Already established
I'll
that
take
I can
it.
Sit in it.
I'll take the
So
uncomfortableness
now,
for
let's
this
see if
benefit.
I can roll in it.
It works.
It saved me. That was fun. Mission accomplished. I can sit in it. It does roll with me on it. It didn't break. I was really scared about the front shafts because those are made of plastic. They held up. I printed those in Polymaker PLA Pro to give them a better chance, and it seems that that was a good idea. And that's it for this video. Thanks a lot to all my Patreons.
And then later on, he adds a motor onto it. If I found the other one, and it goes pretty, and it goes surprisingly fast. That's fast enough to be kind of dangerous, but it is fast enough to be fun. Hey, what's that?
Ooh. Okay, I've lost a nut from the front wheel.
Oh no.
Here.
No.
Okay.
Dangerous.
That was bad. Really bad. Still, it works.
It works at speed though, and that's cool. I would ride it. Would you ride it?
Well,
the pedals are also Lego, which I think is cute. Okay. I think I'm gonna get a couple more videos in the queue really quickly. And I can load them up one by one. The next one is from a channel that is my personal favorite. There's also a Danger Boys channel. We get the Danger Boys here coming in again. So it is metal fires. The secret fourth type of fire that they don't teach you. Or at least they don't teach you how to put out. But let's find out how those happen.
Fire extinguisher compatibility charts online, they'll often only talk about Class A, B, C, E and F fires. So what is a Class D fire? How do we start one? And how do we put it out? Why was this fire extinguisher $2,000?
The shiny fire.
And why haven't I finished my thesis yet? Yeah, good day. Welcome back to another episode of
You could tell he's dangerous because he's Australian.
If we consider the periodic table,
For
most
sure.
of the elements are metals, right? And most of the metals are flammable. Most of them aren't very flammable, so they have to be a fine powder or heated to a high temperature, but most metals will react with oxygen and sort of burn at some point. And what's more exciting is when you have a metal that's so reactive, when you have that burning metal and you put water on it, rather than the fire going out, the fire actually intensifies and you generate hydrogen, which is a big explosion hazard. So that's a Class D metal fire, right? So if you take any of these elements and they're burning and you put water on it, rather than extinguishing it, it will only fuel the fire. There's quite a few of these elements that are capable of causing a Class D fire, and a lot of them aren't very surprising though. Like you've got all these Group 1 elements like sodium.
See a Kirby and a Yippee creature on there? Yeah, I also saw Cool S.
So of course the fire is also going to be reacted with water. And you've got all these lanthanide metals at the bottom, which aren't really real elements and are just a conspiracy to keep employing more physics PhD students. What I think are the most interesting elements in this group are the metals that are really stable at room temperature, both to air and water, but once they get in a fire, get really carried away and you can't use water on them. Theoretically, you could build a building out of these elements and it would be perfectly stable, if extremely hazardous in some circumstances. But the bulk material is not really considered to be a fire hazard unless you're really trying to set it on fire. Let's really try to set it on fire. I mean, how hard is it to set these metals on fire? So for some flammability tests, I have plates of 3 different metals. I've got zinc, magnesium, and titanium. Now, theoretically, all of these are flammable metals, but they're not treated as flammable metals. So what does it take to set them on fire? So the first test we're going to do is we're just going to put them under a simple propane blowtorch. Zinc has a melting point of just over 400 degrees, so the propane torch quite readily melts the plate. The zinc does occasionally catch on fire. It burns with quite a brilliant blue flame. The fire doesn't really go on to consume the whole sheet of metal, but
just a little bit.
That zinc has such a low melting point, it doesn't really matter how big a bulk block of zinc is. In any fire scenario,
there's a little bit of
zinc
fire
is probably going to melt and cause a huge hazard. Magnesium has a melting point of 650 degrees, which is probably on the upper temperature range of what the blowtorch can realistically achieve. It's also quite a big bit of metal, so it takes a while for the blowtorch to get it up to a reasonable temperature. The weirdly coloured footage is from a thermal camera that I have now. The maximum temperature that this thermal camera can read is about 650 degrees. So if it reports a temperature of like 700 or 750, it's not accurately reading out that temperature. It's just screaming in pain because it's looking at something way hotter than it's meant to be. You can probably see where this is going. After about 3 minutes straight of blowtorching, the magnesium slowly catches on fire, and the whole plate has been heated for such a long period of time that once it starts burning, it just consumes the whole block. Magnesium fires are intense. They're not...
Let's go, it's on fire!
They don't splatter everywhere, but the amount of light and the brightness of that pure white light that comes off it, I was worried about the cameras getting their sensors burnt on it. It's that bright. It's amazing.
Oh, that's terrifying.
We would be able to set this whole block on fire with just a blowtorch, but it burns. It definitely burns.
That's okay.
So titanium is definitely one of the metals people refer to when they talk about Class D fires. So can we set bulk titanium on fire? Well, the thing that works against this is titanium's melting point is incredibly high, really. Another thing that works against us is that this isn't pure titanium. It's like 90% titanium. This alloy has improved mechanical properties over pure titanium. And while I can't find anything online to confirm this, my guess is that this alloy is less flammable than pure titanium is.
Whoa.
As such, the propane torch is not able to set the titanium plate on fire. It just makes it go these cool colors as the titanium reacts with oxygen in the air and makes this sort of thin film of titanium dioxide, which is kind of cool, but we're here to see fire. How do we set titanium on fire? Now, I was going to go out and get different blowtorches and step through different gases and get hotter flames, but I think it's only fair we just immediately jump to extreme measures. If we're talking generating extreme temperatures, my thought immediately is thermite.
Yeah!
Pyromaniacs out there already know what thermite is. It's just
thermite time, everybody.
Aluminium. But what's significant about thermite is that there's no gases generated in the reaction. In most pyrotechnic reactions, you generate hot gases and those gases disperse, which sends your heat away. We don't have that in a thermite. In fact, the reaction product we generate is molten iron, and that iron retains all the heat because the aluminium oxide doesn't leave either. So you get just molten slag.
On the titanium plate.
But the thermite on the titanium plate does not light it on fire at all. In fact, apart from all the molten iron sticking to the plate is completely fine. So we weren't able to damage it even remotely with the thermite.
I did not know titanium was thermite resistant. Look at that. It's all fine.
So what else have we got? Well, something I've always wanted to try is thermate. Thermate is apparently just like the weaponized version of thermite. Instead of just having the aluminium and the iron oxide, you've also got some barium nitrate and some sulfur. The barium nitrate makes the reaction more intense because you've got an extra oxidizer in there which can consume some of the molten iron, and the little bit of yellow just makes it more unstable and easier to ignite and smell bad.
Thermite too.
Oh, by the way, this is one of those pyrotechnic recipes I just copied directly from the Wikipedia. I'm sure every military has their own thermite grenade, and I'm sure every military uses their own special recipe, but someone has just copied this one onto the Wikipedia page, and now it's probably an intelligence leak if you either confirm or deny or correct that recipe on the Wikipedia page. So we'll just assume it's correct.
Oops.
I love talking about military stuff because you legally can't correct me on it, even when I'm wrong. So can the thermite make any impact on the titanium plates?
That's honestly pretty good life advice.
Nothing at all, really. This is not going that well. Can the thermite even light the magnesium plate on fire?
What can the thermite do to magnesium? Can it do it? No!
Yo, thermite sucks at lighting fires, man. What is this? You'd think that molten iron would cause the magnesium to melt, but it's just still completely fine. Thermite is not as good as you think it is. At this point, it would be easy for you to say, why don't I just bloody scale up the thermite and do more thermite?
Can't believe Payday 2 lied to me. Yeah.
Let's do that.
I can't believe video games are unrealistic.
In this can.
Oh, that's a lot of thermite.
Titanium plate and a bit of metal on top here. This one is magnesium.
He's lighting it with sparklers.
All right, so we want the magnesium.
There's no like remote fuse. He just lights a sparkler on fire and books it.
Burning magnesium falls onto the burning titanium. That's kind of the thinking. That's all the thinking that's involved. There's no more thinking than that. Okay, I've also put a square of the zinc metal down as well, just so all the metals can hang out together. They're all friends.
Oh my god.
You might think it's stupid I've balanced the magnesium plate on top of this magnesium can that's definitely going to melt, and then the magnesium plate will just fall off.
It blew it up. Oh no.
But you've got to remember that I've studied physics. I knew that the magnesium plate would perfectly bounce and put the edge in the fire exactly at a great point for it to catch on fire.
Ooh. It's melting.
The thermite burned for a solid 30 seconds or so, and then once the magnesium plate caught on fire, it burned for the next, 8 minutes. It takes a long time to consume that much magnesium.
Wow.
It was a pretty well-controlled metal fire. It only set fire to the grass once, so I think that's okay, all things considered.
It's a victory.
This is probably not important, but the iron oxide in that thermite reaction used to be cutlery at my grandma's. Is that weird? I don't know. What does that mean? Anything?
Uh-oh.
So yeah, we definitely set the magnesium on fire. The magnesium set the zinc on fire. The titanium plate is once again completely
The titanium plate's fine.
Give me ideas in the comments on how I could set titanium on fire. It must be possible. I want to set the bulk titanium on fire, but for now, I have to declare that it's not flammable. I hate doing that. Alright, so we've managed to light some Class D fires, but now we have to learn, how do we put them out? We have a burning magnesium fire.
Alright, this is the educational part of the video.
What do we do? How do you put that out? Alright, so this is our Class D fire extinguisher. Oh, I'll put it up here. This was about $1,500 US, which is quite expensive and makes you think that it's filled with some exotic chemical, but in fact it's actually filled with sodium chloride. It really is the world's most expensive salt shaker. The sodium chloride is really inert, so it won't react with the burning metal, which is pretty rare because burning magnesium or burning sodium is very reactive and will react with most things. So sodium chloride is chosen to be unreactive, and it's got a very high boiling point. So in the high temperatures of the burning metal, sodium chloride will just melt and form a crust around the metal and stop the metal from reacting with the air. For that to work, the sodium chloride has to be extremely dry, and that's probably one of the reasons this is so expensive. It's probably just very expensive because it's a critical bit of safety equipment. Those who need it really need it, and you need it to work exactly when you want it to. I don't think it's overpriced for what it needs to do. If we look at the label here, you see that it is rated to put out a fire of over 2 kilograms of magnesium, which is quite a lot. You need 13 kilos of sodium chloride to be rated to put out, it's like 2.7 kilos of magnesium. You can put out a decent metal fire, but not a huge one. Oh, it's pretty heavy. maybe I'm just weak. Now let's go start a magnesium fire and then put it out with this thing. I'm keen to use it, although we probably should find somewhere where
you get put it out by a
grass isn't
salt
growing,
shaker.
because I feel like we'll end up salting the earth. I don't know how violent this is going to be, so let's go find somewhere that doesn't have so much grass before we...
You either set metal on fire or salt the earth, I wonder. Alright, magnesium fire time. Let's see how safety works. But what? That's it? We did it! It looks like you just poured a bag of salt on the fire. It looks so dumb.
It's nearly the end of the video, but we keep talking about putting water on a metal fire, but we don't actually do it. We need to demonstrate these things. Let's put bloody water on a magnesium fire.
Let's go.
I want to say thanks to my Patreon supporters for allowing me to light fires and potentially...
Is that the end of the video?
Me to buy the
Yeah, it is.
to put out the fires.
Let's see what happens when we make things actively worse. Oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, that's kind of cool, but also, like... Yeah, no, I get it. I get why you wouldn't do that. It's like the water turns into, like, balls of magnesium and they're flying through the air now. This is terrible.
Yeah. Oh my god. If you have been suggested to watch this video as part of your training for a new job, consider asking for more hazard pay. Yeah, that's it.
Oh my god. So yeah, never do that.
Alright, great.
Don't do that. Oh, it's on the lawn. Don't do that. That is the lesson. Ooh, speaking of things that you shouldn't do. You know, we're in danger zone. Let's watch a Styropyro video.
FBI visit.
Hold on, let's watch a Styropyro video. Testing crazy chemistry recipes from a 1933 formulary book. Part 4. We've gotten to part 4 at this point.
This video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. Hey guys, it's Drake here.
Hi Drake.
And I'm bringing you the next episode of the Chemical Formulary series. For the uninitiated, I found this old book in the trash. And inside are a bunch of recipes that are about 85% practical chemistry, 10% witchcraft, and the rest being some of the worst ideas our species has ever thought of.
I'm here for the witchcraft.
I picked out even more ridiculous recipes to test.
I could be here for the witchcraft.
In fact, preparing for these experiments got me a visit by the FBI. So you know this one's gonna be good. Now I gotta say it, the experiments I'm about to show you are extremely dangerous. And you'd probably die if you attempted
Gone
them,
wrong.
So please
FBI
don't.
called.
And since I was nearly banned for this video series before, I'm obligated to mention that I'm literally a chemist. I may be crazy, but I know how to do this stuff safely. So yeah, please don't try this at home. Anyway, let's continue our dive into the absurd world of 1933 chemical recipes. This is one of the most ridiculous ideas I've ever seen. It's a recipe for a self-igniting cigarette. I guess the motivation here was, why carry a pack of smokes and a box of matches when you can just combine them into one? Now if the idea wasn't crazy enough, check out that ingredient list. Potassium dichromate? I mean, yeah, smoking will give you cancer too, but this is just speed running it. And the burning sulfur? That's awful. Oh, this one's gonna be fun.
It's gonna smell bad.
There's actually 2 recipes here, where the first one isn't quite so horrible. Now they don't say which form of carbon to use, so I used lamp black for this because I like the sparks that it makes. As for the second recipe, I mixed the glues with water and then broke out the potassium dichromate. Now don't be fooled, this stuff may look irresistibly delicious, but I assure you, it'll mess you up in nearly every way imaginable.
Ooh.
In fact, it typically gets a level 4 health risk in most safety data sheets, which is the highest it goes.
It's the Cheeto dust.
The completed mix looks just like cheese sauce. Like seriously, I just want to put it on crackers and eat it.
It turned
I can't
into
do that though, because it's like deadly or whatever.
like Dijon mustard.
Anyway, here's what these glorified
Deadly
matches
Dijon
look like
mustard
after a
that will
few
give
days
you
of
cancer.
drying. All right, let's start with the first mix. What the heck? This mix was hard to ignite, but once it lit, it was surprisingly energetic and shot burning embers everywhere. I probably used too much of the mix on the end of the stick in hindsight, but at least it made an awesome effect.
Fireworks.
Now to try the real cancer sticks. Huh, that felt just like a normal match. Slow-mo shows that it still managed to shoot off a few embers, but nothing like the first formula. This one was easier to ignite too, but of course, it comes at the cost of being incredibly toxic.
Imagine keeping one of those in your pocket if you
Here's a recipe for a laptop stain that's based on some of my favorite chemicals. Now I thought it'd be fitting to have a 1930s style lab setup for these experiments. And spoiler alert, I actually used it on this very desk. I started with this E7Q standing desk that was sent to me by my sponsor FlexiSpot. This desk is incredibly stable and built with very tight tolerances, which means I don't have to worry about it wobbling and spilling horrible chemicals everywhere when I'm working at it. It's funny.
This is in a very interesting sponsorship spot.
Resistant already, and that's due to the magic of modern polymer chemistry. I actually had to sand this off in order to get my chemical recipe to stick to the desk. The first part of the formula
this is one wild sponsor integration.
These bright blue crystals and potassium permanganate, which makes a deep magenta solution when dissolved in water.
Purple.
Potassium permanganate is actually made right here in the state of Illinois. Well, it was until the factory exploded a couple months ago.
What?
Anyway, this first solution actually stained the wood a very dark color on its own, even before applying the second solution.
We're watching a Styropyre video
pretty
tonight.
Boring, but when painted on the desk, it polymerizes into a deep black color due to the formation of polyanilins. This coating actually turned out to be slightly conductive, so I figured I'd use it to make the table into an ESD-proof workstation by grounding it. It turns out, trying to drill through this carbon steel frame was nearly impossible, but then again, the desk is rated to hold over 400 pounds after all. I ended up just filing a spot where I could attach a ground wire via some conductive tape. The finished table is quite the ideal workstation for me. It is in fact resistant to various forms of chemical attack, and it is quite resistant to fire as well.
Actually, the wildest sponsorship you could probably.
But the frame itself is still grounded, which helps prevent static buildup in its own right. Now I've always liked standing desks since they're better on my back, and they're easy to build stuff on. My new lab actually came with some standing desks when I bought it.
It's working. I want the desk.
It was like a foot taller than me, so they're pretty awkward for me to use.
I mean, I guess.
FlexiSpot desks have motorized legs that allow me to adjust their height on the fly, which means I can find a comfortable height no matter what I'm working on. The legs are built with 100 micron tolerances, so there's no wobble to deal with when I'm doing my work. Considering the terrifying chemicals I'm working with in this video,
that Cheeto dust
stability is quite nice. But even when I'm not using deadly science stuff, my E7 desk makes a perfect setup for my
look, the normal sponsor part.
Now is the best time to get FlexiSpot standing desks, since you can get an extra $60 off when you spend $500 with the code STYRO60. Now that I have a fitting work,
I will say that this is a $600 standing desk. So
this one's silly. Why would you want to color coal? I mean, it's far from the weirdest recipe in here, but I guess it's simple enough that I should try it out anyway. Thankfully, I still had some coal left over from Christmas to try this with.
Shiny.
I had to break it up since the recipe calls for freshly cracked pieces. Now, according to the patent that this recipe is based off of, the book is wrong in what to do with these chemicals. They need to be mixed before dunking the coal in it. I'm using potassium ferricyanide.
It's a $1,200 stand. It's $500. No, it was. I thought it was $60 off, not six. Hold on. No, we are going back to the sponsor spot to double check this.
Time to get FlexiSpot standing desks, since you can get an extra $60.
$60. It's a $600 desk. You get 10% off, which is pretty good, which is okay, I guess, but also, dang.
$60 off when you spend.
My desk is like a big old L-shaped desk, and it's like $250.
With the code STYRO60. Simple enough that I should try it out anyway.
Mining
Thankfully,
coal.
I still had some coal left over from Christmas.
That looks cool, by the way.
I had to break it up since the recipe calls for freshly cracked pieces. Now, according to the patent that this recipe is based off of, the book is wrong in what to do with these chemicals. They need to be mixed before dunking the coal in it. I'm using potassium ferricyanide as opposed to the calcium salt here, but that change shouldn't matter.
He said the word cyanide. That's not great.
Time to dunk in the coal.
This is the weirdest.
Did it just dye brown? Well, that's silly. I guess there's a little blue in there.
Ooh. What video is this?
The patent says that the effect is better when dry, so I'm gonna let some
testing
pieces
crazy
air
camera.
out.
1943
Holy
formula.
heck, look at that!
Ooh,
That's
shiny.
beautiful. Check out those incredible iridescent colors.
Shiny rock.
Wow, the pieces are also
Shiny
different
rock.
too. Some are orange, some blue, and most every color in between. That's amazing. For such a simple procedure, this is one of the most impressive recipes I've tried
Shiny
yet.
rock.
And the chemistry here is
Shiny
fascinating
rock.
as well.
Shiny
It's a
rock.
synthesis of a Prussian blue
Shiny
pigment that
rock.
uses the coal surface as a reducing agent. The reason you get so many more colors than blue is mostly just due to thin film interference. If I treat the coal for a while, the coating ends up thick enough to look more like the classic dye. This is such a perfect example of how chemistry is literally magic. The science checks out, of course, but the fact that a couple simple chemicals transform some lumps of coal into something like this is astonishing.
Rock.
It's reactions like this
Shiny
that
rock.
remind us that chemistry arose out of
Shiny
alchemy.
rocks.
What a cool recipe.
They're cool.
Here's a great recipe for removing annoying anthills in the yard. Simply toss enough cyanide in them to kill 100 people. Now, if you think this seems a bit excessive, it isn't even the worst ant removal recipe in the series.
Deadly poison. Do not allow contact with broken skin or cuts. Hold on, I want to read this. To kill ants in lawns and gardens, make a hole about 18 inches deep in the center of an anthill with an old broom handle, and then pour a solution of poison made by dissolving 1 ounce of sodium or potassium cyanide in a gallon of water. Cover with dirt. That's a lot. 1 ounce, that's a lot of cyanide. Let's just poison the groundwater because I don't like ants on my lawn.
At least it goes away after some time. Going through this book, there are ant poison recipes using arsenic,
Ant
lead,
destroyer.
even thallium, which is just a straight up horrible poison that doesn't just go away. Here's a recipe for artificial fog. Now when I think of artificial fog, I think of a club filled with fun music and fog machines. But judging by the chemicals used here, this looks closer to a war crime.
Why is there
I mean, seriously,
15?
carbon tetrachloride? That stuff is straight up cancer juice.
Why is there 50
The zinc
pounds of
chloride
it?
product? Ugh, this is a horrible recipe. I'm looking forward to testing this one.
I love the mood
If you
change.
ignore the toxicity, this formula is quite interesting.
I looked up.
Half of it is carbon tetrachloride,
Of that Descofredo.
which before we figured out it destroys the ozone
That's
layer in your liver,
expensive.
we used it widely as a
One
fire
hell of a desk.
extinguisher. And here, this formula actually burns it as the oxidizer, liberating carbon and zinc chloride in a pyrochemical single replacement reaction akin to a thermite. Something tells me that a recipe that's half fire extinguisher will be hard to ignite, so I'll be using these ancient sparklers to ignite it. Ugh, here we go.
Why does he also use ancient sparklers as ignition sources
All right,
and then running
any minute
away?
now. This stuff seems slow to start, but I think it's picking up pace now. Oh wow, it's really billowing
Oh
out
my
fog
God.
now. That's
my
some of the thickest smoke I've ever seen made by a
This is
pyro
a smoke
device.
emitter from
That's
a video
actually
game.
extremely impressive.
Oh
You know,
god.
This mix is both clever and
This looks like
stupid
a
at the
tech
same
demo,
time.
and I
The
don't like
product of
that.
This reaction is zinc chloride smoke, which has a potent affinity for water. This means those particles bind to water in the air, which increases the particle size and thus makes the smoke even thicker. Now that smoke is also quite acidic, and it's full of zinc, so it's not great to inhale.
no.
However, a very similar mix called HC is still used today by military and police as a smokescreen. In fact, if you go to the war gases section of this book,
If you go to the war crime section of the textbook, there's even stuff in there that I can't say on Twitch. Why did I can't don't know. There's the one that's like I can't even mention. I can't even upload this video on YouTube now because of this right fucking here.
they'll tell you that I'm overreacting and that mixes like this are harmless. Now, I can't say I agree, but I guess it's nothing compared to these other crimes against humanity.
Oh my god.
Have you ever needed liters of sweat, but didn't want to go through the effort of making it naturally? Well, lucky.
This is probably the most. No wonder he got a visit from the FBI. No, duh. Also, back to cursed information. Do you guys want to know how to make fake sweat?
For you, here's a
He
nice
says he got
recipe for
visited by the
artificial
FBI for
perspiration.
one of these,
I
and I
love
don't
all
know
those
why.
recipes for both new and old sweat here. How lovely. Let's mix some of this stuff up. I can't help but wonder what the original application of this would be.
I'm not
Without any
surprised. I'm
context
surprised it
given by
took
the
him this
book,
long.
I guess it leaves it up to our imagination. I will say that the use of lactic acid and ammonium carbonate means that this would probably make a decent mosquito bait in traps. Well, here's 2 liters of artificial sweat. Now, does it smell like sweat? I can't really say that one does. Let's try the old one.
Ew.
Oh yeah, that one actually does smell a bit like sweat. Huh. How does it taste like sweat?
Ew.
Oh yeah, it actually does. It tastes a little bit like sweat. Interesting. I don't know what it is with this book and inhaling.
All right, anyway, now and after that you add a little bit of perfume and sell it as anime girl sweat and you make a killing.
Chloroform and ether. But here's another brilliant concoction to inhale while you're sick. Now seriously, what's this even supposed to do? Kill germs or put you in a coma? Now those other ingredients are no cakewalk either. Phenol and creosote? Jeez. Smoke pot. Oh, it's a smoke pot. I'm guessing it makes a big cloud of smoke for use in theatrical effects. Now there are 2 recipes.
What if I did actually hold on, I'm really dumb. My brain, I need to hold on. I want to look up the recipe for the sweat really quickly. Hold on. What was it? Ammonium carbonate. Ammonium carbonate. Shopping. Ah. Okay. And disodium hydrogen phosphate. Disodium hydrogen phosphate. Okay. Okay. And then salt and water. Food grade. All right, so what flavors will I sell? No, here's here's so we do here's the scheme. Here's the scheme. We do this, and now we said it's going to be anime girl sweat, right? So we have to add no, I don't want that. Hold on. Not Sakura Pepsi. Oh. We're not gonna get we're not getting actual. Hold on. Let's try this again. Wait, what am I doing? I know what to do. There. There we go. Strawberry. Japanese cherry blossom, let's go. I believe I have made the worst stream idea I think I've ever done. I'm not saying no, I have not done this. I'm not going to do this. I might do this. I might do this as a bit. I legitimately might do this as a bit. The problem is I don't think this stream would last very long. And then we sell it. And we make bank. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Like, okay, hold on. Like, okay, I know you guys aren't degenerate, but hear me out. Think about it. They'd buy it. People would buy it. I'm just saying. Like, the ingredients for this are not bad. Also, do you know you can cook coffee smells from just pouring water over beans? I mean, yeah, isn't that just called making coffee, though? No, but like, yeah, that's called making coffee. We're not here to make coffee. We're here to make anime girl VTuber sweat. How? So okay, so it's $7 plus 8 plus 11. That's like $40. Then you add coffee to the sweat. No, it's supposed to. It's like this is not meant for internal use. This is topical only. And also, why do I want to make it authentic when I can literally manufacture it from a YouTube video that we are all watching together? The recipe is functionally up to everybody right now. Everybody can do this. We can all do this. It's 1 liter of sweat. I'm not... And then we sell it. And then I make money. But spiders don't sweat. Well, Goliath, what do you smell like? Can you give hints? Because... like, what are your favorite hobbies? We're gonna be talking about. We're gonna keep playing this. Not actually. Spiders have no smell. No, sense of smell or like what they smell like, because what they smell like is based on the environment they're around, or that's how it should be at least. I think. Okay. Anyway, actually, hold on. We got to keep watching this video.
I don't know what it is with this book and inhaling
but keep talking.
chloroform and ether.
We got ideas.
A brilliant concoction to inhale while you're sick. Now seriously, what's this even supposed to do? Kill germs or put you in a coma? Now those other ingredients are no cakewalk either. Phenol and creosote? Jeez. Smoke pot? Oh, it's a smoke pot.
They smell like their environment. So yeah, then
theatrical effects.
Yeah,
now, there are 2 recipes here, so you can pick your poison. Do you want to inhale burning arsenic or sulfur? If you're concerned about the amount of arsenic in that second formula, the good news is that red arsenic is only 70% arsenic by weight, so it's not quite a full pound of arsenic there. It is, however, a pound of ass. Now, even a pound of ass has enough arsenic to kill like 500 people, so I decided to go with the burning brimstone version. Besides, sulfur is an underappreciated element anyway. Yeah, it's smelly, but it can take on beautiful forms, and it has several critical roles in biology. Plus,
smells
when
like
it comes
butt,
to
doesn't
fireworks, it's the great balancer because it's happy being either the fuel or the oxidizer. There is another issue with this mix, though, and that's that it doesn't even work. I can't get it to light on fire, which is a rarity for me.
Oh, that's lame, actually.
If you've ever had the urge to plate random stuff in metal,
yes,
this is the recipe for you.
Okay.
Apparently with just 2 ingredients, plastic and even bone can be plated in pure silver. Now, I don't know about you, but bone silvering juice just sounds magical. So I'm going to test this one out. I found this deer skull while hiking with my cats recently that'll be perfect for this experiment.
Okay.
Thankfully, the bugs had already picked out all the gross stuff, so it just needed a quick rinse with water followed by a light wash with naphtha. I didn't have enough canola to make gallons of 4% solution, so I just made what I could and rinsed the skull with it several times to make sure it soaked some of that up. Now the book doesn't say what concentration of silver nitrate to use, so I went with 4% like the canola and poured it onto the skull. The resultant plating was fairly dark, but a quick polish with a rag really shined it up.
Yo!
I think the result is quite impressive.
Ooh, that's kind of cool.
Parts of the bone ended up with the shiniest plating, whereas the more porous areas kept a darker tone. Now it's hard to capture on camera, but some areas are covered in little crystals of pure silver. A beautiful skull and a beautiful desk to boot.
That's cool.
You might think that the ink section in here would be pretty boring, but it turns out there are plenty of exciting recipes in here. Now this one claims that it can etch glass, which is pretty crazy considering how resistant glass is to most chemicals. Now notice how they tell you to not get it on skin. If this book tells you that, they mean it. Hydrofluoric acid is a funny chemical. It's only a weak acid, yet it can dissolve glass, which is something that most strong acids can't do. The recipe calls for lead in wooden utensils, but I sub them out for modern plastic since they're even more resistant to attack from HF. So what would happen if I spilled this on my skin? Well, I probably wouldn't feel anything at first, but soon it would reveal itself as the ultimate bone-hurting juice. Hydrofluoric acid quickly penetrates skin to attack bones and liquefy flesh, and exposing just a few % of your skin to it can be fatal. This is what makes this ink one of the most dangerous recipes in the whole series. On the flip side, the ink did a great job at etching the glass, although it did bubble up a bit and cause etching in unintended places. This etched glass gives really cool effects with laser beams, as it preferentially illuminates the etched part. This is certainly a cool recipe, but I'll say, it is quite scary to work with.
You ever mess with hydrofluoric acid for a joke?
Eat 3 grams of a mercury salt for stomach gas? And this would straight up poison you. Whatever mercury you'd absorb would stay with you for life. And you know what? Your poop after this would be so toxic, you'd need a hazmat team to clean it up. I have no idea how people survived it all back then.
Spoilers, they did not survive.
Judging by these parade torch recipes, the 1930s really knew how to throw a parade. Look at that first formula. It contains Paris green, which is an arsenic salt, and calomel, which is a mercury salt.
Oh boy.
As you can imagine, inhaling the fumes from that would be horrible. But maybe the beautiful blue flames would be worth it. Now that second formula there is only mildly toxic, so I think that's the one I'm going to test. I'm going to assume that copper ammonium sulfate is an old name for the complex tetramine copper 2 sulfate monohydrate. Now I don't have any of this on hand, so I had to make some by reacting a copper sulfate solution with ammonia. The resultant product is an incredible deep blue color. Once this dried, I used some to make a batch of this blue parade torch mix and filled some tubes with it. What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, wow.
It sounds pretty cool, but the color's really washed out. I can't say I'm very impressed with this one. I still had some copper complex left over, so I figured I'd try to improve the mix, using an ammonium oxidizer and a hexamine fuel. Here we go!
That's really blue.
Okay, now we're talking. Wow, that sounds like a rocket. And geez, that's an eye-searing amount of blue light.
That's very
Yeah,
blue.
my camera hates that.
Oh my god.
Making a good blue in fireworks.
Oh, he like disappears when he's right next to it because
at
of how
least when
bright
you
it
can't
is.
use arsenic and mercury.
Oh my
I
god.
think this formula is an exception. It just needed some adjustments to keep the flame temperature down. This one looks really useful. It's a simple method of plugging holes in metal. It uses just 2 ingredients. What could possibly go wrong? I've accidentally poked a hole in one of my favorite microwaves here. And since I don't want the microwaves to escape or anything, this is a perfect opportunity to test this recipe.
Okay, sure.
I have to say, these ingredients are quite unusual, but at least they're easy to mix up. I sanded off some of the coating there to expose the bare metal. Let's go ahead and pour some of that mix on there. Alright, time to heat it up. Is it supposed to catch on fire like that?
Fire.
Wow, that mix burns quite hot. Let's take a look at what's left. It definitely plugged the hole there. This stuff is hard as a rock. Impressive. So what happens if you spill water on it? Oh, look at that. It reacts with water.
Oh, that's not
I guess
good.
any holes you plug with this won't be watertight. It would also kill you in seconds if you did this indoors. Yeah, that's right.
Really?
Those little bubbles are what make this the deadliest recipe I found in the whole book series. The recipe makes aluminum sulfide, which generates the extremely deadly hydrogen sulfide gas on contact with water. If this gas builds up to a measly 1/10 of 1% in air, and you take a single breath, you'll get knocked out almost instantly, and your unconscious body will quickly inhale a fatal dose. I cannot overstate how dangerous this recipe is. The ingredients are fairly benign.
Oh, wow.
So an unsuspecting user would likely be oblivious to the demon they're creating by mixing this.
I don't like this anymore. I want to go home.
Ointments aren't typically
I'm
something
scared.
I consider exciting. But
Mom,
here's an
pick me up,
excellent
I'm scared.
exception. It's a mercury-based ointment that also uses nitric acid.
The Anarchist cookbook can't get on this level. Yeah, it can't get on the level of just
no idea.
being
Whatever it is,
chemically
it must
ignorant.
be terrifying to justify using these ingredients. Ever want to trick your geologist friends into thinking you have something special? If so,
Artificial
look no
fluorescent
further than
minerals?
this simple recipe.
Okay.
Simply mix uranium salts with a powerful oxide.
What?
And then cook the daylights out of it. What a brilliant idea. It's always a good day when I get to break out the uranium salts. It's hard to deny their beauty, and this recipe makes use of their strong fluorescence. Of course, using uranium to make fake rocks is a bit silly, because unsurprisingly, this gives a product that's radioactive and very toxic. The uranium is diluted with sodium nitrate here, and although this compound isn't very toxic,
an awfulness?
it brings up its own set of issues. One of which is that it's a powerful oxidizer. Anyway, let's cook this uranium mix. This could be a bit faster, couldn't it?
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, there's some brown gas being released.
Ew.
I think that's some of the uranyl nitrate breaking down there. You don't want to breathe that.
Ew.
Alright, I think that's good enough.
It looks
Here's
like
the completed fake mineral. It is quite sparkly.
Egg yolk?
It turned redder than I expected, probably due to trapped nitrogen dioxide gas. But is it actually fluorescent?
Looks like bad.
I'll take that as a yes.
Forbidden creme
Is this
brulee.
recipe worth it? No, not even in the slightest. It turns out both of these ingredients here are deliquescent, which means they have such an affinity for water that they'll turn themselves into a puddle on a humid day. That means you'll get radioactive salt everywhere, and simply touching it with your bare hand will leave uranium on your skin.
Nope.
Besides, there are plenty of real fluorescent minerals out there that are cheap. If you're going to go with something artificial, you might as well pick something that nature can't offer. For example, I have this neat gag crystal here that's not only fluorescent, but it's also phosphorescent. And even crazier, it's ferromagnetic too.
Whoa.
Most importantly, it won't give you uranium poisoning by touching it.
Magnetic
What a silly
rock.
formula.
Hey.
Chemicals that glow in the dark? Well, that sounds like fun. I mean, nowadays we're spoiled with all sorts of phosphorescent pigments, so I'm curious to see how an old recipe like this holds up. For this recipe, I have to make some modifications to use what I have on hand. I don't have zinc sulfide, but I do have zinc and sulfur, which when burned produces zinc sulfide along with a bunch of heat. My hope is that this short combustion reaction
so that's
will
the
be enough to produce at least some amount of glow.
No. No.
Well, here goes nothing.
Uh-oh.
Oh wow, that's a lot of fire. I love the green flames there from the zinc metal burning. Those fumes are
Metal
delicious.
fire. He did it.
Yeah, that crucible.
We're back to a
isn't
metal
like that one
fire.
bit. That must be incredibly hot.
Oh, the crucible's gone. Bye.
Here's what the finished product looks like. When I hit it with a UV flashlight, it actually gives a decent afterglow. Sure, it's nothing compared to modern pigments, but this stuff works surprisingly well considering its simplicity. I've picked out some of the better chunks to hit with a UV laser. Check out that afterglow. I can't believe how well this works given the modifications I made.
Pretty. Still
There
dangerous,
are plenty
but
of
pretty.
toilet fluids in this book series. The toilet milk in my last video turned out to be really popular, so I feel like this toilet vinegar is worth trying as well.
I don't know what I'm
This
saying. I
recipe
don't know.
calls for glacial acetic
Don't-
acid,
Ow!
which is basically
Hey.
ultra vinegar since it's 20 times more concentrated than
Hurt.
normal vinegar. The silly thing is that the recipe dilutes it to regular vinegar strength with water, so it really doesn't need the glacial stuff here.
Ow!
Well, I still don't know what this stuff
loud.
actually does, so I guess I'll just feed it to my favorite toilet. Oh, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity for a baking soda volcano.
This is a good shit
Wow,
post.
what a beautiful ad-friendly chemical reaction.
Owie.
So many bubbles. Now, before I end this video, I feel like I should give this
here we go.
my FBI visit.
Here's
because
the FBI
It's
story.
already one of my top search suggestions, even though I barely talked about it. But anyway, I was playing with some stray cats that I found in my backyard when this SUV pulls in the driveway. Now, it wasn't black. It was like green or something. But anyway, a couple guys come out, and so I walk up there to greet them, and that's when they pull out their badges and tell me that they're with the FBI. So I'm thinking,
Is that Logan
oh boy,
from Soviet
right?
101?
It's
No,
like,
he's more dangerous.
Is it all the Soviet military surplus I like to buy, or is it the sketchy Chinese laser parts? Have my memes been too spicy that I've been posting online? And I guess being Arabic probably doesn't help my case either.
Oh,
But they told me, yeah, it was some things I bought online that they were concerned about. And they had this whole list, and they start reading off of these chemical names. And this actually surprised me because, like, these are chemicals that I've bought for forever. Like, I've been told them I was surprised it took them this long to visit me over chemicals, right? But apparently the issue was the quantity I ordered, because I did order a pretty substantial amount of chemicals that can be used for exploding purposes, and they just want to make sure that I didn't have anything horrible planned, right? But the funny thing was,
The funny
my
thing.
squirrel friend heard all this commotion, and she's up in the tree, so she comes out of the tree and walks up to us in the driveway, and then she's just looking at us, and then, oh man, I wish I had my security cameras up for this, because it's so absurd, because they're wondering, like, you know, what's this squirrel here looking at us for? So here I have to explain this as some crazy guy that lives in a cabin in the woods in the middle of nowhere, that I have this squirrel friend that loves people and likes to climb on people. So, you know, I'm trying to prevent her from jumping up on us. But it's just like, it was so
He's so bad at.
But I mean, they were cool about it. I even offered to show them around, but they declined. But it was quite the experience. Like, it was pretty funny. One more thing. If you like my chemistry content, check out my shorts channel. It's not all vertical trash. I have a couple medium-length chemistry vids there too. I've also started another side channel that only has one video so far, but I plan on uploading quite a variety of stuff there. Anyway, thanks again to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. Thanks for watching.
I think the scary part about that was that he got a visit from the FBI and thought it was funny. Like, a dude who lives in the middle of nowhere with an Arabic name ordering a bunch of chemicals offline who has a squirrel friend that they meet up to when they go to the FBI. Like, what? There's so many levels of weird going on. I'm like, why? Okay, I think we got, hold on, one more video. Is this short enough for this? Yeah, it is. Okay. This one's gonna be a last one, and there's a story. There's a good story behind this one. Didn't Nile Red also get an FBI visit? I feel like he probably would, but he's in like a pretty professional lab. I'm not sure. Okay, this one is a pretty, actually, kind of, I want to say, uplifting or in an interesting way. So this one is about TV's most unethical game show ever, and I don't think a thing can actually beat this. I've seen no one talk about this. So let's go.
25 patients in need of a kidney transplant compete for the organs of a terminally ill woman. You're probably familiar with reality shows made by Endemol like Fear Factor and Big Brother, but they had folks questioning if reality TV had gone too far with their newest program, The Great Donor Show, which was set to air in the Netherlands on June 1st, 2007. The show involved Lisa, a 37-year-old woman with an inoperable.
What about Nile Creek? Nile Creek doesn't count.
Donating a kidney to.
He is fake.
With this decision, she'll be receiving text messages with advice from viewers at home. Leading up to The Great Donor Show, it received widespread criticism, and the show was deemed inappropriate, tasteless, and unethical. The bad press got so loud, the Prime Minister of the Netherlands had to address it, pleading for the network to not air this show. And it begs the question, what leads a network to program such a morbid game show? Once you start diving into the full scope, it's clear that there was even more at stake here than a dying woman's kidney. This is the story of the most unethical TV show ever.
Capitalism?
To truly understand
Elias, you will
here,
understand.
we need to go back to the year 1976.
You will understand.
It started with a car accident.
I'm not saying anything yet.
Bart de Graaf was a 9-year-old boy who was involved in a life-altering car accident. The chronic kidney failure he suffered from the accident led to a growth disorder that gave Bart the permanent appearance of a young kid even as he got older. But this didn't stop him from going after his dreams of being on television. Bart used his childlike appearance as an instrument for his career, eventually going on to create his own public broadcasting network, BNN, or Bart's News Network. BNN's programming was targeted at teenagers and young adults, and it was known to air rebellious, controversial subject matter. For example, they had one show, Try Before You Die, where presenters attempted things that they think people should do at least once in their life. The show made headlines when one presenter went streaking during a quarterfinals match at Wimbledon.
I mean,
Bart was the lovable face of the network and regularly got in on the action himself. This is him vandalizing a gas station just to see what would happen. When law enforcement arrived, even they couldn't be mad at him. Don't worry, Bart paid for the window. The same year Bart founded BNN, he also received a donor kidney after spending years on a waiting list, which let him live a relatively normal life for a while. My impression of Bart and his network is limited because I didn't grow up in the Netherlands, so I went on Reddit to talk with those who did. One Redditor said, BNN did things nobody else did at the time. At times he struck gold, other times he missed the mark completely, but he did earn his place in the history of Dutch TV.
This is before a lot of people issues. That's why I want to know.
A short 2 years after Bart received a donor organ, his body began rejecting the kidney and his health deteriorated quickly. On Saturday, May 25th, 2002, after being in the hospital for weeks with peritonitis, Bart passed away at the age of 35. Bart's passing devastated his coworkers and viewers, and it put a spotlight on a serious issue in a country that had one of the lowest donor rates in all of Europe. A country where the mortality rate while waiting for an organ transplant was between 15 and 30%. And at the time of the Great Donor Show's fiasco, about 40,000 patients across the EU were in search of an organ donor, with 200 people in the Netherlands dying annually while waiting for a kidney. While citizens begged politicians for years to do something about the waiting list, nothing seemed to change. So when a grieving network with a reputation for anarchy put their heads together, one question came to mind. What would Bart do? We now travel ahead 5 years after Bart's passing to May 2007, when Bart's News Network, now renamed to Bart's Never Ending Network, still BNN for short, announces the Bart de Graaf Donor Evening, soon renamed to The Great Donor Show, a reality program with the kind of premise that brings almost universal backlash.
The makers of Big Brother have done it again.
3 people who need a new kidney.
This is cynical exploitation.
Unethical and tasteless.
The Big Donor Show, that's raising all types of ethical questions.
This television show is exploiting people's desperation. Then we should be able to volunteer for the slave trade, or as long as we donate the money to charity.
Has reality TV gone too far? Too far? Too far?
I'm glad how 2005 Fox News still also misses the mark somehow.
The Prime Minister of the Netherlands had to address it. He said he deeply regrets that BNN will broadcast the Great Donor Show on Friday evening. The controversial program does not benefit the image of the Netherlands abroad. We can profile ourselves in a better way, and this does not help get more organ donors. And it's one thing to make a spectacle over these participants needing a kidney, but to have it all go down via reality game show and get the whole country meddling into their health matters through text messages, these crowdsourced polling campaigns have always been a great idea if you ask anyone hoping for pure chaos. This can't be the way we do this. But in a way, this is exactly the way we do this. Several experts noted that the Great Donor Show was in many aspects comparable to the popularity contests that happen all the time on sites like matchingdonors.com, where people looking for organs post their pictures and their stories, hoping a potential donor will choose them. That is, for the monthly membership price of $295. Tom Simon was one of those donors. He ran a blog, The Kidney Chronicles, for a while, where he tracked his recent kidney donation to Brenda. When he was asked about his thoughts on the Great Donor Show, he said, "The game show thing has a certain perverse appeal to me."
Now that is exploitative. Yeah, that's exploitative.
Brenda to eat on television for her to win my kidney. Of course, we'd all be rubbed the wrong way to think that such a thing like human organs should go to the best looking, or the highest bidder, or who can eat the most bugs. And in the US today, there are more than 100,000 people waiting for an organ transplant. And every 9 minutes, another patient is added to that national transplant waiting list. And every day, 17 people on that waiting list pass away. And while 95% of US adults support organ donation, only 54% are actual registered donors. So with all this in mind, on the ethics of the Great Donor Show, when some folks argued that it might not be such a bad thing to bring out that human element and add a touch of sensationalism to the cause, it makes you think, yeah, fair point. And no matter how much effort the government put into preventing the Great Donor Show from airing, there really wasn't anything they could legally do to ban the broadcast. So after all the outcry and debating and failed attempts to intervene by the government, the night of June 1st, 2007 arrives, and all eyes are on Bart's
I'm surprised I did not hear about this, considering it was in 2007.
It's the most festive time of the year, and HelloFresh is here to help make the most of every moment. From holiday hosting to dinners during busy weeknights, you can count.
Oh, there you go.
Plus free shipping. And make sure you spell my last name right, because people get it wrong all the time. The E comes before the L, all right? The show opens with the host, Patrick Lodiers, saying that today is a special day in television history because tonight something is going to happen that has never been done before. And that has not gone unnoticed in the House of Representatives, throughout the Netherlands, and far beyond. Every year, an average of 200 people die because they do not receive an organ in time. And here in the studio are also about 200 people. The number of adults who do not want to be a donor has doubled in recent years, and the average waiting time for a kidney is currently 4.5 years.
Well,
that can be halved if the number of donors doubles. And let's all go for that tonight. Enough talk, time for the show. Lisa has already narrowed.
I know I have it that it lowers down, but hopefully you'll be able to hear me better.
Esther Claire,
I've always been having trouble finding
all three of them have been
the good
on
balance
list for a new kidney for a goddamn long time. And luckily, we have found someone who is willing to donate one of her 2 kidneys. She grants another a long and healthy life because she no longer has that prospect. As I mentioned before, viewers were asked to give advice via text messages to Lisa, and the host states that the profit made by the text messages would be given to the Dutch Kidney Foundation. So at least there's that. After listening to the stories of the 3 finalists and the struggles they faced, now it's time for Lisa to eliminate one of the hopeful patients. Lisa laments that it feels like playing God. She makes the decision to eliminate Esther Claire and explains the reason was because she already has a good life. A brutal decision, and Esther Claire says that it was what she expected to happen. We're now down to the final 2 contestants, Vincent and Charlotte. The host emphasizes one of you will extend their lives with probably 23 years. The gravity of the situation continues to build as the fateful moment comes to a crescendo with Lisa announcing who she'd be giving her kidney to. But seconds before Lisa can name her winner, the host stops everything, faces the audience at home, and drops a bombshell. Wait a minute, I would like a timeout, because I would like to tell everyone again why we're doing this. Well, this is because there is something terribly wrong with the organ donation in our country. There are 1,400 people on the waiting list for an organ, while their chance to receive an organ is very small. However, we can change that by filling in a donor form. Tonight, we won't give away a kidney. Even we think that's wrong. And Lisa, or do I have to say Leonie, is an actress and is very healthy. Esther Claire, Vincent, and Charlotte are in on this conspiracy as well. However, they aren't actors. They are 3 real kidney patients, and the story they've been telling is their own true story. The place erupts in applause. The contestants all share smiles and hugs, relieved they can finally break the act. Same here, I've been holding this in the whole time. Then they share why they participated in this, how they wanted to make the world jolt awake, and how they've always wanted to make clear how big the problems are. Then the host speaks directly to their government. I would like to talk with our members of parliament. Last Tuesday, everyone was talking about this television show, that there should be something done to ban this show. Do something about the waiting list, and talk about it with the same comments and indignation as last Tuesday, and ask the minister and yourself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This was pretty yikes, and then they dropped it. It's so good.
Before it was revealed to be a hoax. Possibly my favorite conversation is this one. A reporter asks a parliament member, "Are you an organ donor?" And they reply, "No, however, I expected you would ask this. I will fill in a form later this week." And then they ask, "So is the Big Donor Show useful?" And they reply, "Well, at least one new donor." It cuts back to the live studio with the echoes of laughter from the late Bart de Graaf himself. The program ends with the host saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, this was the Big Donor Show, and I can assure you there won't be a sequel." But this one night only television event would remain the talk of the country for a lot longer than one evening.
Some fascinating breaking
Colt, I wish you the best of luck, okay?
The Netherlands. That program,
you'll
you're seeing the live pictures of coming out of the Netherlands, it was a hoax.
Breaking news was het op de buitenlandse
Now, an
zenders.
update to the story we've been following on CNN this week. It's been revealed that the Dutch television show purporting to feature a dying woman deciding who will receive one of her kidneys is a hoax.
We had the commercials, we had the flyers, we had the posters. It doesn't help. So something very drastic was needed.
Uiteindelijk bleek het hele opzet vals te zijn. We're trying to get this issue into the public domain. They've succeeded, haven't they?
Well, they certainly did. You've only got to look around me
I
here.
thought it was brilliant, really.
Very glad that it's a joke. Nobody thought before that it was a joke. Now the responsibility is going back to the politic.
The director of Endemol clarified, "I do understand the massive outrage very well. It was necessary to get the shortage of donors back on the political agenda." Which leads me to the big question about the Big Donor Show. Did it work? The impact of the Great Donor Show was basically immediate. Within a couple hours after the show ended, BNN received donor
there we go.
application
Now it all
requests
works.
from 12,000 viewers.
Yay.
By the following day, donor forms were requested across the country by over 30,000 people. And
Good.
48 hours after the show, the donor form request number had reached 50,000 people. This show that was once seen as an international disgrace was now being celebrated. In January the following year, the Great Donor Show's big reveal as a hoax was voted the best Dutch TV moment of the year, and the show won an international Emmy for non-scripted entertainment. Political opinion shifted too. The Dutch education minister praised the Great Donor Show as a clever approach to bring attention to the shortage of donors and called it a fantastic stunt. However, a spokesperson for the health ministry was not as impressed, saying this is not the proper way to get
That's
more
still a
donors.
good
So
amount.
you
I
can't
like
win them
that.
all over, I guess. He's kind of right though. This is not a sustainable way to get more donors. The real long-term answer was always going to come back to government legislation. If the issue is not getting enough people to opt into the organ donorship, how about changing to an opt-out system? Hold that thought for 11 years. In February 2018, the Dutch government passed a law that considers all adult citizens organ donors unless they actively opt out by sending in a form. The law was accepted after intense debate with 38 votes in favor and 36 against.
Let's go.
10 years after the Great Donor Show, 15 years after the passing of Bart de Graaf, this law and the culmination of decades of political battles all came down to one vote. The amended Donor Act then officially went into effect 2 years after that on July 1st, 2020. With the amended Donor Act, everybody ages 18 and older are automatically added to the donor register, which records everyone's choice regarding donation of organs and tissues after death. Let's be real, it's not clear if the Great Donor Show was one of the reasons why the Netherlands went from opt-in to opt-out, but I agree with this Redditor who believes it had to have done something to move the needle. As for the participants of the show who were in need of kidney donations, as of 2020, all three are still alive. Charlotte was on a talk show in 2012 to discuss the impact of the Great Donor Show, and at that time was still hoping for a kidney donor. Vincent has worked on more awareness campaigns for kidney diseases and is also in a band. Esther Claire did a TED Talk in 2016 and wrote a children's book inspired by her experiences. Bart's never-ending network did end up coming to an end when it was dissolved in 2014.
Yes, this show
Bart's
is
legacy
a
lives
reason
on
why I
with the
stopped out
help
now.
of his sister,
That's good to
who
know.
launched a YouTube channel with old TV programs and other videos of Bart. In an interview, she said, "In this way, I hope that he will also be known among a younger audience. There's an entire generation that did not know him. Bart has meant a lot to Dutch television." She also sees this channel as a way to revive him a little. In the description of this video, I'll have the link to his channel as well as a link to the Bart Foundation, which helps young people with physical disabilities to set up their own business. There will also be a few links with info on how you can become an organ donor yourself. And if you're looking for more content from me, might I suggest this video I made where we talk about movies that broke insane world records. While you consider clicking that, I'd love to thank all my YouTube crew members for helping fund this channel, and a big ol' shout out to Ashley for being a producer. If you'd like to be a crew member, click the join button, and at the least consider subscribing. Let's do this again sometime.
But yeah, that was like a very it was very wonderful video. We kept talking about donors for years. Like that's very good to hear. I'm very happy to hear that this this wild stunt did so much good. I mean, I'm personally also an organ donor. I mean, if you want to do that, then that's your decision, but I always encourage it. Like, it's surprisingly tasteful. I'm just like, because it wouldn't get the buzz if it wasn't at least some form of like horrendous, right? Like, because otherwise it would just be like a fundraiser or whatever, and everybody would be like, whatever, it's a fundraiser, we don't, again, like, I don't mind, I don't care. But if it's like a game show and there's like a buzz about it, hey, ow, and there's like people like on all sides talking about it, even from international standpoints, and it's very good. So I'm glad it is. And I mean, I love how the video was set up. Like when I originally watched this, I thought the catch was so good. I didn't want to say anything because I noticed that you were already stating like you were having some opinions when you're saying it in chat, and I was like, just smile. Just let the video play. It'll happen. The cool part will happen, and then it does, and it's like the best thing ever. And I personally very much love it. You know. Like, I watched it. I forgot the show was fake. I just know that it sparked conversation for years. I feel like if the show was real, you would talk about, like, it would be in like school textbooks or something as some kind of like you know, like justification for something else, you know. So, you know, thank you guys for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. Well, I hope you guys learned something, or maybe inspired you to do something. You know, become a organ donor, set something on fire. Hopefully, probably be an organ donor. That's probably more productive. And of course, this is the end of our little stream week. So there's that. Let's see who we can send you guys over to. Ooh, I know. I'm gonna send you guys over to Sam Starlight. They're playing one of my favorite games, Neon White. They are a lovely VTuber. Let's see here. All right. Now, again, this is the end of the stream week. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. I hope you guys catch me next time when we stream again on Tuesday. And make sure you save before you go. Have a lovely one. Bye-bye.
In 1 week. I'm excited for you that you get to see this again. Guard.
Oops, that was an ad for a thing. I got an ad when I was trying to check on the person's stream. There we go.